Fibby's going down to Georgia. He's looking for some lies to steal. I saw behind. He's looking to make you.
For me,
we'll let a few people get in first. We didn't go with no music today. We're gonna play this straight Fibby interview. Might have to fast forward some parts of it when they're talking, when they're doing the whole hump talk. We'd have to go through by a few of them parts. Let me see here. Let me know if you can see that or not. What's up, Stannis Baratheon and MRH? What's up, Greg? What's going on? Let me see here. You can see it. What is this quote up here? Hold on, let's read this quote. This quote looks pretty hunky-dory. Well, for me, the realization that people that I probably loved had something to do with it was a tough pill to swallow. He wants you to believe that it was such a tough pill to swallow when some family member went missing from a clippings and whackings. This is sick. Look at this. For me, the realization that people that I probably loved had something to do with it was a tough pill to swallow. I think what enables you to escape that is you don't know. You don't know, and you're never gonna know.
The realization that people that I probably loved had something to do with it.
Oh, this is so sad.
Was a tough pill to swallow. But I think what enables you to escape that is you don't know. You don't know. You're never gonna know. And chances are whoever was involved, if that's the way it went down, they're dead now anyway. But it's sort of a Fredo type of situation.
A Fredo type of situation. And this guy Stukes is eating the feces. He ate about 2 pounds of Canari Loman fecal matter in this fucking episode. Oh, that's so cringy. He wants you to believe that he had family members that had to have whackings and clippings, and he was sad that whackings and clippings happened. He'll tell the story in this pathetic fucking interview. All bullshit and lies that was taken down by the culture vulture. Culture vulture, Jacob Stukes, Mr. Cornfields. Fucking freak. Why don't you go cover Bonnie and Clyde, you freak? Joey, what's up? Yanks, BK, Agent, what's going down? RoboCop. It is sick. Montauk, what's up, man? This shit is fucking sick.
Situation is how can one hurt the other? It's always blown my mind. And I think that when you live on all sides of this, so it's different.
What does he mean when you live on all sides of this? He means the mafia. Is he crazy? What is he talking about? And this guy Stukes is eating he's eating these hankies. He's eating Mr. Hankies like they're hors d'oeuvres. This is crazy.
Different. If you're a guy such as yourself who enjoys history, enjoys the stories, enjoys the politics, likes to do research, you have the comfort of being able to put the book.
Wait, Jacob Stukes, why don't you do some research on this guy? If you did any research, you'd realize he was fucking lying. But you don't care, right, Mr. Cornfields? You let your kids listen to this fucking Mama Lou.
Down and going to bed at night, right? I don't, because I live with that specifically. And there's been other events that I'm not going to get into.
Look, he lives with it 24/7. Fibby lives with the fact that Cousin Georgie and Cousin Luigi got whackings and clippings next week, and they're never coming home. And it was probably Fibby's other family members who did it. This is sad. Let's say what's up to the chat if I get too carried away over here with this. Make sure you go to Spike Cult. This is his Rumble channel. The link's in the description. Unfiltered Brit, little brother Maddie. What's up? Don't be a fibby. Don't be a fibby. Better not be a fibby. Oh, my God. Is he out of his mind? Listen to this. This is insane. This is classic.
Into, at least not until, some of my family's dead.
All right. He won't tell the stories until some of his family members are dead. What family members is he fucking talking about? God rest their soul, but they're all passed on, right? Fucking liar.
But I think it's just when you love people so very, very much, the other side of that,
wow,
it's it has a way of really warping your mind.
Wow.
It really does, because you love them. You're never going to stop loving them, but at the same time,
Who the fuck are you talking about, you Dagestani free? What's he talking about? This is crazy. He watched too many of that Dominic Montiglio fucking thing. He's watched that too many times.
you know what they're capable of. And being young and being impressionable, you think that's power.
Power.
And my grandfather used to always say, power is not the matter of life and death. Power is with a look.
It's with a look, like when he looks at the can and the other children and the mom in the car and says, time to lop it out and pee, right? Pecan time. Weird stuff, man. This is insane. My grandfather used to always say, power is not the matter of life or death. Power is the way you look. This is just crazy.
Of knowing it could go to that. Like, sort of like a threat, like
a threat. See how he's trying to talk like he's from New York, like a threat. Like a threat. Oh my God. Be proud of being from Virginia Beach. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Like, shit.
Just giving somebody a look, knowing what I'm capable of is more. People will be afraid of you for the rest of your life, knowing what you're capable.
He might pee in a can, the peanut can.
Of versus issuing a threat.
What is this? This is insanity. Look at the intro.
The legends of the American mafia are woven into the and mayhem.
Dorian.
Here he is.
Here
he is. Hi, I'm Mr. Rogers. I'm from the cornfields with a Lucky Luciano shirt on. This guy is out of his fucking mind. He's got a tummy full of fucking Loman's feces, and he ate so much of Loman's shit during this interview. Hi, I'm from the cornfields.
This episode, we've recorded an amazing interview, and I'm really excited and honestly very appreciative.
I also had intercourse with the mailman. I slept with the mailman twice.
That this guest was able to take time out of their busy life to sit and talk with me for a few hours.
His very busy life, Fibby's busy life, like Home Alone on the holidays. He's Kevin McAllister. Look at this fucking guy, the epitome of Revenge of the Nerds. Louis Skolnick over here with a Lucky Luciano shirt on. You culture vulture. Go get a John Dillinger shirt or Babyface Nelson, you culture vulture.
Hours. You see, when I began this podcast, I wasn't sure if I was ever going to do interviews. Now, there are a lot of things that come with doing interviews, some good and some bad.
Well, sometimes I catch I get a little herpy on my cheek. This is fucking sick.
And I waited for really a very long time. Ultimately, though, I decided that my goal was to sort of create a mosaic of stories concerning the mafia life.
A mosaic of stories? You're a sick fuck. And you inhaled feces. And when this kid called you to take down, he didn't want this up. Because Fibby got caught in a lot of lies.
Really, the only way to truly paint a complete picture is through first and secondhand accounts of the people that truly lived it. So you will be seeing certainly more interviews in the future for sure. And in the back of my mind, I knew that if I ever did start doing interviews, this particular guest was definitely at the top of my list. And frankly, one of my personal inspirations for starting this podcast in the first place.
He was inspired by Fibby. Wow, is this guy crazy, Mr. Cornfields, Mr. Indiana Cornfields? Are you fucking crazy, Mr. Rogers?
You consider that this person in particular doesn't do interviews, but made an exception to come on my show, I'm really left with, honestly, nothing but gratitude. The guest today, of course, is none other than Jeff Canari, the host of Mob Talk Radio. Now, before we bring Jeff on, let me give you a quick background on who he is. For those that don't know him, Jeff is the creator and host of Mob Talk Radio, which is, in my opinion, the best and certainly most entertaining mafia history podcast in the genre. There certainly are other good ones, but to me, this one's right at the top. Jeff person in the space to really enter the mafia history arena on a consistent basis and has been doing so for about a decade, which really makes him kind of an OG for the mob genre. Not only Jeff speaks from experience, and what I really mean by
Jeff speaks from experience. This is crazy.
That is that he grew up in a family involved in organized crime in Providence, Rhode Island. And to this day, he has built friendships with what I'll just call some very serious people.
What I'll just call some very serious, two wild and crazy guys. This is insane. Jeff did not grow up in some mafia family in Providence, dickhead.
Other cities. This fact, of course, as a civilian, quote unquote civilian, really makes his story.
Me as a civilian. Hi, sir. I'm a civilian. Jeff's a real mobster, but I'm a civilian. How you doing?
I'm just waiting for the howdy doody music to pop on and some strings to be pulled here. This guy is fucking howdy doody came to life.
And his show about as authentic as you can get in this day and age for someone who isn't or wasn't in the mob themselves.
Come on, Dobie Gillis. Give it a fucking break, Dobie Gillis.
And as I said, Jeff was kind enough to share many details of his life with me. And of course, he brought his personal brand of color and fire to the show for sure. But quickly, before we get into the interview, I'd like to remind you to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell to get notifications.
Yeah, we would, but you took this video down, Mr. Rogers. You took this fucking video down. Fucking jerk off. Let me see. Let me look at the chat for a minute. This is insane. This guy believed everything hook, line, and sinker. Jeff comes from a mob family. Cousin Georgie with the one arm. Throwing fucking grenades. Little me, what's up, bro? Come on, talk, Randy. Hold on, let me get my dog a bone so we'll shut up. Man, I bought him a bone at the store. So before we make fun of Howdy Doody and the bullshit artist over here, we give Rocco a bone. Here, boy. Good dopamine. Good dopamine. Oh my God. It's going to be a hard one to get through Howdy Doody here. Hey, teacher, what's up? I'm hey for teacher. Listen to Howdy Doody, just eating the fecal matter.
Already a subscriber, please share the show to help my small but mighty Mafia channel grow. And if you're listening
Mafia channel, help my Mafia channel grow.
You rat fucks. Oh, yeah, it's big. You see that picture of him trying to look tough, intimidating in that picture? Picture what he told this guy behind the scenes. Oh, my God. He probably told him he's witnessed whackings and clippings and fucking flippings. Oh, my. What's up, Kirk? Randy, Donald, what's up?
And please leave me a review and let me know what you think. All right, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Jeff Canari.
I'm real tough. I'm so mafia.
Hey, everybody. This is Jacob Stoops. As you know, I'm the host of the members only.
Tell me a song, you're the mafia man. Sing me a song tonight. This is insane.
The podcast, like I said at the top of the show, and today I've got a very, very special guest who doesn't usually do interviews. So I'm feeling pretty good, pretty lucky that he decided to come onto my show. And that guest is none other than the legend himself, Mr. Jeff Canari, the host of Mob.
Oh, he's eating this shit right up because anybody who fans Fibby's ego, Fibby eats that right up. Since this guy looks up to Fibby, because he's looking at Fibby like he's Fibby Corleone. Fibby Corleone.
Talk radio. How's it going, Jeff?
It's
I'm awesome.
It's going good. Besides Christmas, Thanksgiving, everything else is great.
Ready to talk some mob stuff. You know, I'm usually just doing my podcast by myself, which for people, the behind the scenes is quite honestly, you're just sitting in a room talking to yourself a little bit. So it can be a little weird when you're recording. So it's actually nice to have somebody to talk to about, you know, wow. this thing that I'm passionate about. And obviously you're passionate about it as well. You've been doing your own show for over a decade.
Think about this. If this guy had any ties to mafia or whatever the bullshit that he tells, why would he have a fucking talk show like this? You fucking dope. He blew fucking smoke up your ass through the whole thing. White Mike, what's up?
Now, so I wanted to.
Well, he probably kissed Fibby's pinky ring behind the scenes.
First, again, like I said, say just thank you for coming on my show. You know, I never really talk about what it was, you know, what was behind the founding of my show. And I think that people like you, and specifically you, were a big reason why I decided to take the leap to want to start my own podcast. I started another podcast. I do SEO for a living. A lot of people don't know that about me because I don't really share too much about my personal life on my show, but I do SEO, search engine optimization, for a living. And I started a podcast there maybe 5 years ago just to kind of get my feet wet. But pretty quickly I realized I do this for a job. So I really don't want to talk about this all day, every day, but something that I'm really passionate about is the mob. And that sounds weird to say, but just I'm interested in history. Love, of course, mob movies, as anybody in this genre, of course, probably does. And when you combine and cross those two together.
There's nothing wrong with liking, I guess, mob movies, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But when you become Fibby and you stop making up, or you have channels like the guy Stooks over here, who platforms bullshit is, you know, if you want to talk about Al Capone back in the 20s, go ahead. It's kind of stupid, but go ahead. But what Fibby does, he tries to say there's current people in the mob that he knows and hangs with. He's fucking sick.
together, you just have an interest in the history of the mob. And I would say about 10 years ago now, and 9 or 10 years ago, just happened to be on YouTube and came across your show. And at that point in time, I would say your show is much different than it is today.
Yeah.
But came across your show. And
how's the show doing now? How's it doing now there, Jake?
Stuck with it, and was like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. Well, and now here we sit 10 years later. I've been a long time listener.
Well, don't get me wrong. Fibby knows whatever the TV and the FBI and these documentaries. Yes, Fibby does know that stuff. Fibby's watched every single thing on the mob. Anything the FBI or these documentaries pulled out, Fibby's watched it. And he knows that stuff. But doesn't know he never knew any of those people. His family was never involved in that lifestyle. Everything's been bullshit. Fibby wasn't a bookie. The lies are just crazy.
At a certain point, I felt comfortable enough to start asking, questions on your show. Then I was inspired, by you specifically to create my own podcast and kind of take the leap. And that's kind of the story of why we're here. And finally, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a shot and see. I know Jeff doesn't do interviews, but maybe he'll watch my show and say, all right, that guy's not bad. Maybe I'll jump on his show and hopefully talk a little bit about your life.
Absolutely. I knew who you were just from you asking questions and stuff on Facebook or whatever. But there was somebody that came to me that's a former South Philly guy or whatever. He says, "You listen to this guy's show on Angela Bruno yet?" I says, "I'm not listening. Stop sending me mob stuff. I don't want to listen to mob stuff. Because this is my job. This is 24/7 for me. So if I can get a break from it," he says, "No, really." He mentioned you, and that's the antenna goes up immediately. Oh God, here we go. So I went.
He mentioned me. Fibby, you know how he's very self-grandiose. He's always the self-grandizement and all that fucking shit. I can't even say the word right. So he ate this shit right up and fell in love. He's like, wow, this guy loves me. I can blow smoke up his ass. Because Fibby on this thing, he's feeling like he's somebody, right? These are the only times where Fibby feels important to the world, when he makes these crazy lies up.
But listen, I was quite happily surprised that you use paperwork, because 90% of the people in this genre do not use paperwork. They just kind of go with a book or an article, and it just kind of gets lost in translation from there. Yeah,
and I like to everything I do, I think, I've often joked with my friends, like the one thing that they're going to put on my tombstone is just, he was thorough.
Oh yeah, no, you have to be.
You and Mr. Rogers. What's up, Joe?
Have to be.
Yeah, and with this, because there's just so much parroting of stories, and a story, it's like the telephone game where the thing originally happened, but it gets changed over time, and by the time
that's why shouldn't believe anything these stupid fucking channels say.
It gets parroted enough, it's drastically different than what actually happened. And if you're not doing your homework, I look back at old newspapers, I look at paperwork, and just really try to dig and try to get to the truth of what actually happened, or make assertions. And when I'm making an assertion, I try to say, like, look, this is kind of what I think might have happened.
Would Jacob if somebody made a channel about his family and looked into his family being bakers or whatever the fuck they do, right? I don't know, tilling corn and shit like that. He wouldn't like that, right?
But you're right. A lot of people don't necessarily do that and maybe trust books a little bit too much.
Fibby is the underboss in the bathhouse. Agnostic. What's up, Bob? James Simpson. What's up, bro? Make sure you check out James' channel.
Well, I always say the golden rule for me is I wasn't in the room, I wasn't standing there, but I can get you to like 90% accuracy. I can't get you to 100, but I can get you close. And I think getting close and then adding an opinion, it's what helps your narrative.
Fibby can get you to 90% accuracy on clippings and whackings. This is fucking sick.
A little bit. Meanwhile, I'm the only one I think that has a narrative. You know what I mean? So.
Yep. So I wanted to wait until we were kind of recording to tell you the story, but I do have a funny personal story related to you, and it's got to be weird, being the host of a popular podcast where your listeners, I know from listening that sometimes.
Wow, Jacob Stooks thinks he's sitting with Joe Rogan, Fibby Rogan over here. Do you think you're sitting with Fibby Rogan? This is fucking sick. Yeah, Fibby's Island. This is sick right here.
Yeah, I'm sitting next to one of the coolest podcasters in the world.
I bet you Jacob has a different opinion of Fibby now.
Sometimes they see you around and they say, hey, Jeff, or they come up to you and you're, I would say within this industry, maybe like a pseudo celebrity as much as someone in this industry can be.
He called him a pseudo celebrity.
Or this genre can be. So you do have people that recognize you. So for me, having listened to you for 10 years, I feel like I know you a little bit.
You don't know him. You've been listening to 10 years of pure bullshit. He's going to throw so many big fucking pieces of hankies at you. It's unreal.
And you're just meeting me. So I wanted to make sure I shared a little personal anecdote. So again, like I said, I haven't necessarily shared a lot about myself. I'm from the Midwest, married, 3 kids. And I made what I'll just call a parenting mistake. And it's nothing against you. It's definitely not your fault. And I hope you'll laugh. But
I already know where this is going, I think.
Right. Right. So I pop, you drive the kids, you're driving the kids around, and I Bluetooth my phone into the car so that I can listen to podcasts. And it was a couple of years ago when I still thought my kids didn't know curse words.
Yeah, I only know.
He's letting his children listen to Fibby's podcasts. Dude, why would you let your kids listen to Fibby's fucking podcast? Wow.
Well, now don't they?
Didn't know curse words. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to listen to my podcast. They'll be in the back chilling. And, finally my oldest goes, Dad, what are you listening to? And I go, I'm listening to, Mob Talk Radio. And he goes, this guy curses a lot. And I was like, You heard that? Yeah. And so you are now known in my house. And we kind of joke about it now. I definitely, I pick my spots when listening to your podcast. Now that I know that my kids know what curse words are.
Picture the bullshit Fibby threw him. Oh. Yeah, teach them to identify lies. Yes,
you are now affectionately known in my house as the guy who curses. So when I told them, hey, guess what? Hey,
look at Fibby eating this up. This is the best he's ever felt in his life.
Hey,
he's
son,
high
guess what?
on
Guess what I'm going to interview? And he goes, who? And I go, the guy who curses. And he's, no way. He was really excited. And
I'm going to do my best not to curse. I'm really serious.
He goes, is he going to curse? First question, is he going to curse on your show?
Why would you let your kids listen to some fucking shit about people killing people and fucking organized crime? That's fucking weird, dude.
Because he's 10 and he thinks he's at the age where that's probably secretly.
Yeah, he thinks he's Fibby. He thinks he's talking to Fibby Corleone. This is sick.
But
most 10-year-olds think it's cool. I thought it was cool at 10. I started much earlier than that.
I did.
Look, he said, I thought it was cool at 10. I thought it was cool.
Fucking psycho.
I did as well. So really quickly before we kind of get into the meat of the episode, where can people find Mob Talk Radio?
You can go over on Facebook and type in Mob Talk Radio Show and it'll come up there, or you can go onto YouTube and type in Mob Talk Radio Show and it should come up. We used to have a webpage, but it just got to be too much.
And you do have a paid platform.
I do.
I highly recommend.
I do. It's oh god.
Yeah, $15 a month, and you get to listen to old episodes. Fibby has an emotional fits and takes off for 2 weeks.
mobtalkradio.supercast.com. I think that's the website. If not, the links are on YouTube and they're on Facebook as well.
And if you're a fan of the genre and you're really wanting a consistent flow of really, really good content, Jeff's paid platform is $10 a month, which I think is a very reasonable price.
Now it's $15. He upped it. Imagine paying $15. You can go get Netflix for $15, man. Yeah, Fibby Fredo Corleone.
For the output you get, and in most months,
Netflix is half the price. How much is Netflix? Like $12.99 or something?
Going to get you like 4, maybe 5 episodes, and that's aside from what he does on YouTube. And I know that you interact in a lot of other places too. But that is you're usually at 2, sometimes 3.
This motherfucker actually believes he's from Providence, Rhode Island. Amazing
hours per episode, and it is digging as deep as anything I have done, probably 10 times deeper in most cases. Plus, you're, with Jeff, and we're about to go into this. You're also getting a much different.
Yeah, this guy thinks he's Joe Rogan. He thinks he's talking to Joe Rogan over here. Oh, this is insane.
Perspective than I can bring as somebody who has never been connected to anything really in my life, and Jeff is definitely a different kind of cat. So I definitely recommend.
Yeah, Jeff's a different kind of cat. He's connected. Yeah, Jeff's connected to Pierre, and Pierre's connected to Fago. And what do we call that? Homosexual threesome.
That you go over. It is mobtalkradioshow.supercast.com, and throw a few shekels Jeff's way, and I promise you won't be disappointed.
I appreciate
throw a few shekels his way.
Cool. So let's get into the meat of the show. And for those of you that don't know or are wondering where this is going, I really wanted to, and I know Jeff may be reticent to share some of this, but my goal with this podcast in doing interviews, and I thought long and hard, do I want to do interviews, because there are a lot of implications that come with that. And finally, I decided, it's not all paperwork. I finally decided that I was comfortable with the idea of I want to hear stories from either first-hand or second-hand sort of stories from people that were either in or have bumped up against the life, as they say.
Oh my God, Jeff doesn't know anybody in that life. He knows Angel Gotti. He knows that's the person he knows from that life is somebody's daughter, an old lady.
Thought Jeff was a perfect candidate, but I know that Jeff's also he talks some about his personal life on his show, but there are some areas where admittedly he's reticent to get into. So I'm hoping we'll dig into a little bit of that today and talk about Jeff. And we'll start
with. What's up, Miss W? What's up, Randy? What's up, Nick? Mike? What's up, bro? Oh, thank you for that.
Your early life. So I guess, can you just tell us, who's Jeff Canari? Where did you
start?
What was your early life like?
Shout out to my favorite boomer out there, Gen X. Gotcha.
Tell us a little bit about your family, your mother, your father, so on and so forth.
Well, I come from, first of all, and I haven't really said this publicly, but I'm adopted. A lot of people don't know that. And the reason why I preface that.
Everybody knows he's adopted. He always accuses us of making fun of him for being adopted. Adopting people is a noble thing. I have friends who are adopted. That's ridiculous. I make fun of his 2 different conflicting stories of how he was adopted. That's my issue, is his 2 conflicting stories. One story is both of his dads are on the same Navy ship, biological and adopted. Then the other story is them walking through the hospital and the little girl saying, we must, the little sister, God rest her soul, saying, we must adopt baby Jeff.
Is because, not to get into the mudslinging events that take place, but it's important to me to say that where you come from, who you're raised by, who raises you is what you know, right?
Yes, exactly. And you weren't raised by a secret mafia grandpa, neither.
Logically speaking, I'm Italian and Irish right up and down the line. And I was adopted into an Italian family, an Irish family. So when
we've heard him say Lebanese, Cherokee, and English in the last few months. So how are you Irish and Italian? And he put up that fake DNA thing too. Unbelievable.
You typically will have people say, well, he's not even Italian. Well, the name that is my government name is not the name I was born with. But I don't talk about that sort of stuff because it's just...
Why don't you talk about it?
Sort of personal. But as far as how I grew up, my father was in the Navy, was a Vietnam War hero. And to categorize myself as a Navy brat really isn't accurate because by the time I was...
We've heard him say he was a Navy brat before. This kid switches it up like you wouldn't believe. Look at all these things.
Born in 1977. My father is pretty much getting out of the military at that point. He met my mother in Newport, Rhode Island. And sort of you have heard what I've said about my father on my show. And I don't know if I've ever said this story before, but my father was stationed in Newport, Rhode Island. And he met my mother in Newport on the beach. And my mother at the time was really into three-card Monte. Pick the card, pick the card, pick the card. And so she sees my father, and I guess they kind of look at each other, and, their eyes light up or whatever. And, she does her little card trick, and she says, if you get it right, you get one wish. He says, all right. So he watches her do it. She's horrible at doing it. He picks the card immediately. She looks at him and says, well, what was your wish? And he says, I wish you would shut the fuck up. So there's your F word. I apologize for that. But that's sort of how they met. And his best friend at the time was a guy named John. They were in the Navy together. And John was dating my mother's sister, Pat. And they both ended up marrying into the family. So best friends actually became brother-in-laws. And
is that the Uncle John with the regatta where Fibby's dad and him crashed the fucking boat?
So my childhood was very rooted in, a lot of people might suspect somebody's father might be like military. My father was easygoing, whereas my mother was, my friends.
He's leaving out his dad was a CIA guy in this hologram cards, levels of the president. As you notice, there's no CIA dad in this, no CIA stuff or nothing like that.
Compared her to Joe Pesci because she foul-mouthed, F-word, beating up neighbors. That's just sort of how my mother was.
Joe Pesci's mother wasn't a foul-mouthed woman in the movie Goodfellas. She was a sweet old Italian lady. She wasn't foul-mouthed and nothing like that. I don't know what he's talking about.
And so I bounced back and forth a lot to Virginia Beach, which, people come out of the woodwork to tell you that. I've never hidden that. But
yeah, he did hide it. Go read the Scott Williams Collier fucking true crime page. It's go read it. It's called Scott William Collier True Crime Page. Jeff gives a whole interview. He said he was born in New York City and moved to Providence at 10 years old. There's no mention of Virginia Beach.
Base of operations for me has always been Providence, Rhode Island. So
look, base of operations, Providence, Rhode Island. This is where I live. This is sick. He's not from my neighborhood. He's not from here. He never went to school here. He doesn't know a fucking soul here. What a bullshit person.
Easy childhood. I can't really, I can complain, but who'd want to listen to that shit? You know what I mean?
And your father, if you've listened to your show for any amount of time, I would imagine that most people, I'm trying to think of the right word. He's kind of a legend on your show. And, you don't get stories about him often because it's...
Yeah, you do. What do you mean? He's always stories. Kyle, Neil and Bob, Kyle and Bob, the two gay dudes that the father invited over the house. And then 20 minutes later, they're performing fellatio in the fucking back room or something, he said. Crazy shit.
It's a mob show. But your father, every time you talk about him, the stories are really epic. And he reminds me of a bit of the George Costanza or Frank Costanza character from Seinfeld, played by, I believe it's Jerry Stiller. Mm-hmm. So the stories are always very hilarious and epic. And yeah, your father's seemed like quite a man.
Yeah.
Coming from Virginia Beach. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't say he was a SEAL. He said he said the father was a CIA guy. Well, not CIA. He said it was higher than it's the Black Ops world. He said his father was a member of the Black Operations world that took out dictators, all kinds of crazy shit like that. He's not saying this in here, though. But he says his father got him hologram cards. He worked for the government. President's been to his wake, sent them all kinds of shit. Crazy.
Yeah, I don't think he would like what I'm doing, but I think, on the other hand, I think he would get it. I wish I could just rewind for 1 second and put him on my show for 10 minutes and just let him talk, because people would just be like, did he really just...
The stories he's told about his dad were lies. He took the stories from stewardess school, where the little kid says, I don't want crushed nuts, I'll shoot your breast, and all weird stuff like that. Like the stories he tells is insane. Do you remember the story he told about being up in Federate Hill in 1983, and he said there was a flamboyant caressing and rubbing the brother's cheeks, and the father kept saying, "Oh, he's just a nice guy," and Jeff's mafia uncles beat the guy up. It's just insane.
Just say that. You can't say that these days. I don't give a FFF, you know.
So tell us about your extended family, should I say?
Well, there's a lot of us. I think I have 80 or 90 first cousins.
80 or 90 first cousins, he says he has. 80 or 90 first cousins.
So we come from a very big, well-known family in Providence. And
well-known family? Who the fuck are they? No one knows them. Me and all my other friends who really are from here, nobody knows who the fuck his family is. He's fucking full of shit. Oh my God. 80 or 90 first cousins. Fibby's family are like little gremlins. You put water on them, they fucking multiply. Just don't feed Fibby after midnight.
I think growing up as a kid, you know, you never look at things in terms of, excuse me, does this uncle got money? Does that uncle got money?
Listen.
You don't see things. But I knew enough to know they had the biggest houses I'd ever seen in my life. They had the nicest cars I'd ever seen in my life. They never seemed to go to work, but they always had the not always a deal somewhere. Let's go down to.
There was always a deal. Watch this. Let's go to Atwell's for a hot suit.
Let's go down to Atwell's and get a hot suit, or let's do this.
Let's go down to Atwell's to get a hot suit. What the fuck?
I didn't really know much other than just to know that these were people you didn't want to mess with. And there was a bunch of instances as a child that I kind of figured that out. But for the most
part, why don't you tell us why aren't you telling Jacob the story where your father beat the other mob guy with a hammer? He said that all the mobsters, when there was a mob around here in Providence, would rob each other's funerals. He says after his grandfather passed away, they robbed his grandfather's funeral. And while the funeral was going on, they caught the guy, and Fibby and his whole family went there, and the father tortured him and broke his hands with hammers and shit. Total bullshit.
Part of me, I can only imagine from the outside looking in what that must have looked like to other people. And I found out, you know, through that like beach story that I've told on my show, what other people thought, but it was a normal.
What, the beach story? Which one? With the Solomons or the Petriarchas? Which one, Fibby? From 2016 to 2019? Which bullshit story, Fibby? Oh my God. What's up, Con? What's up, Lisa? Vince, what's up? Next, he'll say he hung out at Coinomatic. Yeah, he did. He actually said he was in Raymond's basement picking out hot fucking swag. He said he was in Raymond's basement picking out swag. It's ridiculous. Raymond Petriarca died in 1984, and he was bedridden and fucking sick in the 80s. He was deathly sick from probably like 82 to 84. A very sick man. He wasn't at the beach with Fibby's grandpa. Number one, Fibby's grandfather was not a wise guy, okay? Number one, he told Angel Gotti that fucking Raymond Petriarca was his grandfather, okay? She told me that face-to-face in her fucking kitchen. Fibby's a bullshitter.
Existence for me. It really was. I mean, I was very naive to everything.
Vegas Pete, what's up, brother? Hold on. That's my boy Vegas Pete right there. He's got his thing on there. All right. Listen to this crap.
You know, it's very foreign to my experience because I grew up in a very small town, very country Midwest, so it's very foreign to my experience. But I would have to imagine
same thing as him, Stukes. He grew up just like you did. He didn't grow up in the cities of the East Coast and Providence and New York. He didn't have no wise guy family members neither. He's sick.
That it's like being a little bit in a bubble, when you're inside that, you don't necessarily.
Now notice Fibby's facial expressions. Seymour, what's up, Scagnetti? He is eating this shit up. He loves every minute of it. He finally feels like he's somebody. He's something. Somebody's interested in him. Somebody wants to hear his bullshit stories. Fibby feels emboldened, and he cherishes this. He wished this could last a lifetime.
Have the understanding of what's going on outside the bubble, and it seems like it's something that just kind of consumes. It's all encompassing and just consumes.
No, it's not, dude. No, it's not. Do you know how many friends of mine, their fathers used to be wise guys? God rest their soul. Rudolph was a wise guy. Their kids never knew that shit. Never seen guns. Never seen shootouts. They didn't even know that shit. It's ridiculous. They didn't live in a bubble. They lived like any other kid. They grew up like every other kid. Don't listen to this guy.
Everything about your life.
I mean, the only thing that I look, there's a lot, now that I'm an adult, I can look back and say, oh, how did I miss this? How did I miss that? But there was always somebody dying. But nobody ever talked about how, what, when, or somebody went on vacation for years and, we don't know.
Somebody's always dying. What the fuck? Somebody's always dying. See, he wants Stukes to believe that he grew up in this Dominic Montiglio documentary Remember that documentary that rat Dominic Montiglio did, where he's like, we had to put like bulletproof glass in the windows. They were shooting up our house. Fibby seen that and he was in love. And that's why he makes these stories up.
When it's just, to me, that was just commonplace. It was, things like going to Dell's Lemonade. Like if people ever go to New England, Dell's Lemonade is like Rita's. It's the best thing ever. Like we were driven by somebody.
Oh man, shout out to Mr. Lemon. If you're a real Providence motherfucker, Mr. Lemon.
To go get Dell's when I was 5 or 6 years old, who was not my uncle, but I called him Uncle So-and-so. So it's one of those things where probably outside of that bubble, people go, oh, we know it.
All right, so some guy took Fibby to Dell's Lemonade who wasn't his uncle that he called an uncle. Must be a mafia person then. What's up, Kelly?
That is, but I had no clue. To me, it was like everyday life. It was normal,
Listen.
Yeah. And so tell us about
this guy. Actually thinks he grew up in Providence. What a stupid bastard. Even now, with all this shit, with people from my city out here laughing at him, calling him a liar, right? You still believe this guy? He probably does.
your grandfather, who I don't think you've ever shared his name, nor am I asking you to share his name.
And he won't share his name because his name is an English last name. The guy's Lebanese, and I love Lebanese people, great hardworking people, but he's not Italian. He's a Lebanese dude.
But I think it's fair to say he's probably a member. And so I'm sure there are lots of stories about him that you can tell. I've heard a lot of them on your show, but
look, he's probably a member. No, he wasn't. His fucking grandfather was not a made guy. Nope. Not a shot in hell, Stooks.
Take the listeners who maybe haven't listened to your show or don't know who you are. Tell us a little bit about what your grandfather was like.
He was a man's man. Everything that so I grew up right in the era with the grandparents being in their 70s and 80s as you're growing up. They're coming from a bygone era where you wear a suit every day. So from outsider appearance, a guy wearing a suit every day, it was just for them. It was like, wait a minute, what's he doing?
Look at these little pitches he's throwing up. Is Fibby Lebanese? I don't know. I don't think so because he was adopted. Remember, right? But he said before, these are Fibby's words. He said he was Irish, Italian, English, Lebanese, and Cherokee. That's what we've got on a Fibby. But who knows with Fibby? Right? He's got a Jewish last name and he's Lebanese, Italian, Irish, all this shit. He's out of his mind.
It's 80 degrees. He's wearing like a $2,000 suit. Where's he going looking like that? To me, it was just how men dressed. Everything from his routine, just getting up every morning, going to church, come home, eat breakfast, get me chocolate donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, and then he's off. He's off in his work vehicle. He wasn't driving the Cadillac.
It's quotations, work vehicle. Mind you, he grew up in Virginia Beach. We'd had his childhood friends come on here. He didn't grow up in Providence with his grandfather, dude. A lot of his friends from Virginia Beach never even heard about his grandfather.
Do you know what the FBS?
Fibby wasn't born. He was created, James. You got me dying over here.
UPS trucks look like?
Yeah.
He had the same thing, but it was much smaller and it was silver. We called it the silver bullet. And that's where he had stuff, swag and doubloons and hidden compartments and all.
Yeah, that's where the doubloons were. Golden doubloons in the truck. Remember the doubloon story? He told the story with 3 different family members. And remember, Cousin Georgie used to be Cousin Marvin. The names switch up like crazy.
That kind of stuff. But he would go out every day, come back at noon, take a snooze down in the cellar because it was warm, smoke a cigar, and then he's gone. But he was home every night by 6. This is a man who I never heard use the F word, ever. I never heard. Now, if he did, I'm sure it was another language.
All right, what about the time you said your grandfather threw somebody through Louis Minacchio's fucking window? R.I.P. to Louis. He said he threw someone, his grandfather was in Louis' laundromat up on Atwells Avenue, and a guy walks in and calls Fibby's grandpa a wop. And Fibby's grandpa in front of little Fibbins throws a guy through a plate glass window. That never happened. Why didn't you tell that story to Jacob?
Languages, and I'm sure it was in the other room with the guys that came over. But I never heard him raise his voice. It was sort of like, I don't want to use the term like, we were the Cleaver family whatsoever, but he just carried himself
like they were the Cleaver family. He'll tell them on Tom's show, he says how he was beaten, abused his whole life by the mother. So I don't get it. How can the mother abuse you your whole life with mafia grandpa and all mafia uncles and cousins around? They didn't step in and say, hey, stop abusing Jiffy, Fibby, Jeffy, Fibbles. His stories, listen, when you come on and you tell 25 lies and they don't match up, people are going to take that apart and you look like a fool.
Way that men don't carry himself. And I know that now, but to me, it was kind of like he's kind of nerdy. When I was a kid, like he walks women across the street, he tips his hat, he opens doors. If a woman's upset or if a woman...
Seymour, who do you think? Durkee or Fibby? That's a tough one. Probably Durkee because he'll just, I don't know. I'd say that's a tough one, Seymour. You got to get back to me on that. I got to get back to you on that.
To the room, he stands up immediately. These are all things that I learned from him, and that's a bygone era. But
listen,
for the most part,
he learned all this stuff from his grandfather. Man, if whoever raised you, whatever man raised you, they raised a pure coos. We've seen you act like an emotional pregnant woman. Even pregnant women don't even act like that, right? what a weirdo, stalking Joey Merlino, going to his court trials as a reporter investigator. How about the new Fibby thing that came out? If I have time, I'll play it after this, but I'll play it this week. Fibby's told us how many times he was a 3-time felon. People told him he'll never get nowhere because he's a felon. And his lawyer's right up there explaining everything. It even explains how Fibby told on the kids who told on him. But this is classic. I don't want to talk too much through this, but he's going to tell us how some bride warned him about shootings, whackings, and clippings. This is just an epic one. Shout out to Spike Cult. The Rumble link is in the description. If you don't have Rumble, get it and go support Spike Cult. He's one of us. No rat squad here.
He just liked to sit at home, smoking cigars, and watch Sanford and Son at night. That was sort of his thing in Boston Bruins hockey. That was his thing. But he was a very giving individual. And I've said on my show before, when he passed away, we were cleaning out his basement, and he had a wine cellar. And basements in Providence sometimes have kitchens. And I was
sometimes have kitchens. Most of them have kitchens. You fucking dope.
In the wine cellar playing, and there's all these cardboard boxes, and they're the type of boxes that are the 10 foot, or not 10 foot, but like 3 feet tall, 2 feet wide, where you can like put the dresses, suits if you're moving. These were all filled with cash.
Yeah, right.
And each box was destined for, one said Christmas. So there was a smaller box filled with $100 bills just for Christmas, and that was
the guy was a legitimate guy. He would have had his money in the fucking bank, man. So he's trying to say in the basement he had all. Kim, what's up? Kim's tripping. Give her a sub. That's a good friend of mine. If there was boxes, who would ever have boxes in the cardboard with all money in it? One said Christmas, one said that's fucking bullshit. Fucking insanity. Remember, Fibby said he snuck downstairs and he was hiding behind the clothes at the when they robbed the funeral and he was watching his dad torture that man. He doesn't tell Jacob that story.
All the grandkids to the relatives to then there was a box for charity. And so all in total, I think when they finally settled his estate or something like that, it was something like north of $35-40 million. Now that's not money that somebody that's an alleged dry goods salesman makes. It's just
he was a dry goods salesman. He was a good businessman and a dry goods salesman, and Fibby made him out to be a mafia person. What should Fibby actually got? The grandfather did have money, and he was a business guy. He was probably a fucking massive pervert too, because he was whipping his pee-pee out and peeing in a pee can with all the kids and grandkids and his daughter in the car. But he did have a lot of money, and that's where Fibby got lucky. He was adopted by a family with money. So he got a good chunk of money and went to Europe with Fago, one of his male friends. When the grandfather passed away, he went to Europe with the money.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But I think by all accounts, I mean, he was the most honest, tough, big man, 6'3", 240, played semi-pro football in the teens to the 20s. He was a tough guy. He had hands like mallets, but he was
great semi-pro football now. I thought he was doing whackings and clippings with Raymond through the streets of the mob.
Just, it's a weird dichotomy because you look at what the subject material we're talking about is, but to see a whole nother side that's huggy, kissy, loving.
Peeing in cans and stuff. It's just weird.
It's an oxymoron in a lot of different ways, but that's why I always say people in that lifestyle are very good at I can't even say
compartmentalizing
that word. I can't ever say it, but they're really good at doing that. But if he was angry, his way of dealing with it was to go silent. You know, so you know, if you walked in the room and he turned his back on you, or if he just didn't even acknowledge your existence, that was far more worse than taking a beating. If that's the way he wanted to handle things. But I never saw him raise a hand. Well, not any of us anyway.
Spoke softly, but carried a big stick.
Oh,
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Well, Teddy Roosevelt used to say that too. Walk softly, carry a big stick. San Juan Hill, the Rough Riders. Shout out to Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, and I think there is something to the bygone era.
Yes, Calm. He tells the story, lopping the pee out and peeing in the pee can, right? Fucking sick. Yeah, the world of pure imagination. That's what this is. This is a fucking tale of wool being spun. And this guy is eating fucking Jell-O pudding, but it's feces. Instead, he's just eating all Jeff's shit. And he's saying, thank you. He's just amazing how stupid and gullible these people are.
Wife, her grandfather lived almost to be 100, World War II veteran, and he was much the same way, the same type of manners towards women. Tough guy, mowed his lawn and was driving at the age of 95.
Wow.
Did the same thing. It was normal to get up and wear a suit, and that was just how you dressed, no matter the weather. Very respectful.
We built a $49 garden hose nozzle that makes every pressure washer on the market completely unnecessary.
I think that's just how people just tended to be raised back then. And it sounds like your grandfather was no different. But of course, in your grandfather's case, he had the other side, the compartmentalized side. So
he's like the guy. He had the other side, meaning the mafia, the compartmentalizing side. Like, give me a break.
So when did you know that maybe your grandfather was part of
That's right, Vince. Completely disrespect to those who cared for him. That's right. to his family that adopted him and gave him a life and all that stuff, he shits on them by making lies up and making them out to be CIA and mobsters and Cousin George. You remember 2 weeks ago? Now he's got a Columbo cousin too. I mean, what the fuck?
Life.
That's, it's funny. I was thinking about that earlier today because there was a million times. There's a million times I should have known.
Listen, there's a million times he should have known, but let's how he finds out. Let's see how Fibby finds out his family with a mob.
Of course, I think a lot of people have seen Goodfellas, the film. And I remember as a kid, my brother taking me to a local video store and say, let's get a movie. All right, fine. And he gets Goodfellas.
All right, let me slow this down for a second here. This is where he talks about Goodfellas. Showed him that his family were mobsters.
I didn't know what the hell Goodfellas was. He brings it home, and I'm watching this, and as we're watching, he's like, that guy reminds you of anybody? This guy reminds you of anybody? That guy sound familiar? And I'm like,
look. So to Fibby, any Italian guy dressed nice is a mobster. So he's trying to say how he found out his grandfather was a mobster, the brother brought home a Goodfellas fucking movie. And when he's seen Goodfellas, he's like, does this guy look familiar? Does this guy look familiar? What, there's just a bunch of fucking Italian guys in suits. They could be construction workers. They could be bakers. Like, all old Italian guys dress like this. I don't mean they're fucking mobsters. What a weirdo.
No. But then it started to dawn on me, like, yeah, that's like Uncle Eddie. That's like Uncle Joe. That's like Uncle Tony. And he goes, you see what
Uncle Ed, Uncle Joe, Uncle Tony.
I mean? And what's funny about that juxtaposition is I found as I grew older, I accepted it more, and my brother accepted that less. It became like a sort of an illusion to him that, oh, that's not really what's going on. But that was just him sort of proffering, sort of tutoring me. And no, you don't know. Like, this isn't what it is. But
that makes no sense. The brother's tutoring you, and I think
it was that. I think it was the time when I was on the beach. And I can tell that story if you want.
Yeah,
it's up to you.
Great story.
All right, this is a story that's going to let him know Grandpa was a mobster. This story makes no sense. We've ripped this story apart many times.
So as a kid, I was like a small, skinny little runt. I mean, I was undersized in every way imaginable. And we would go to Newport, Rhode Island, to go to the beach. And me and my cousins were there. And my cousins were a little bit younger than me, a little bit smaller.
Remember, before he told this story, Raymond Petriacca was at the beach when this happened. In 2016, he told that story. Then he changed it up to the Solomons.
Me and my grandfather always sat at the top of the beach because he liked to overlook everything. He never went near the water. And I often wondered if it was because he couldn't swim or he just would rather sit up on the beach, smoke a cigar, and just be left alone. But at any rate, there was this other kid. He was like 12 years old. I think I was like 10 and a half. And he was a foot taller than I was. And he kept pushing my cousin in the water. And then he would hold his face down in the water. And the kid can't, he can't breathe. He can't swim. And after like one or two times of like telling this kid, knock it off, I hauled off and smacked him. And not only did I punch him, but he's flat on his back and he's crying.
All right. He's flat out in the back in the water. Remember what this story is being told. They are both in the water. The bully is choking Jeff's cousin, putting him under the water. Fibby punches him and knocks him out laid on his back. How? He's in the water. I don't get that, but let Fibbins tell it.
And this is a kid that's a foot taller than me. He gets up, he runs back to the north end of the beach, and I'm like feeling pretty good about myself. I get a good 1-2 or whatever.
I gave him a good 1-2-zy. I felt good about myself. I gave him a good 1-2-zy.
Kids usually do, thinking nothing's going to happen. It's not a big deal. About 35 minutes later, I look down the beach. I see this kid coming. I see his father, and I see his mother, who's already screaming. And my mother starts to kind of see what's going on, and she walks over, and this lady is like, your son's a bully. He's a creep. He's just going up one side and down the other. And my mother is not the most rational person in the world. So rather than diffuse it and say, I'm really sorry, she just starts flying off the handle. And I guess my grandfather sees all this going on, and he witnessed the whole thing. So he starts to come down the beach. And keep in mind, my back is turned.
Remember that. The grandfather witnessed the whole thing. Remember that part.
To him, I'm facing the water. And I guess he gets closer, but all of a sudden, this lady's eyes get as big as a deer in headlight. And she's like, I'm sorry, you know what? You're right. My son was out of line. And she's like shaking his arm and smacking him, saying, don't you ever disrespect, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
all right. So Fibby's grandpa, secret mafia grandpa, walks over and the lady sees him and notices him from the news and whackings and clippings and Mr. Mafia. And she gets really scared and runs away. Give me a fucking break.
What the heck is going on? And I turn around and I see my grandfather, and then it dawned on me. She was terrified of him. And he just sat there, just smoked a cigar listening. And he wouldn't have been the type of guy.
Why would she be terrified? Even if he was a mob guy, why would she be terrified of him? It's a kid's fight at a beach, dude. It's not fucking serious.
To say anything to them, he would have been like, nope, my grandson's wrong. He shouldn't have done this. So after they leave, I think I'm going to get in big trouble. And my grandfather grabs me by the arm, starts heading back up towards his chair. And he looks at me and says, you did the right thing. You always defend your family, no matter the cost. He said, what? You did one thing wrong. Listen. That's what I said. He goes, you did it in front of people. Don't ever do anything in front of where anybody can see you and report. He goes, imagine if we weren't here. That story.
Now, listen to this story and dissect this for a minute. Papsy Gas Money, what's up? Why would the grandfather say, you did one thing wrong? You hit him in front of other people. Of course there's other people. It's a beach. There's hundreds of people swimming and shit. Why? What was he supposed to do? He had to hit him. So why would the grandfather say that? You hit him in front of people. Well, should I let him have choked my cousin or drowned my cousin? You got to hit him in front of somebody. He's drowning your cousin. It makes no sense. No sense. And why wouldn't the grandfather go down there immediately and like, yo, he was drowning my nephew, my other grandson, and this grandson protected my other grandson. It makes no fucking sense.
It would have been you just walked up and clobbered that kid. So always put yourself in a situation where people can't give different stories about what's happening, because if you do that, you're going to jail. And I'm like, okay, I don't know nothing about jail at that point, but it was a lesson that I learned from him is if you never want to hear anything you say played back to you in court, don't ever open your mouth to nobody. And that's just the way he was. He was from a different era.
And that's actually a good.
Hold on, Richie. The lady was terrified because the grandfather was wearing a thong with his ball. Oh my God.
Segue, because that story involved your mom and your grandfather at the same time. And there's a really infamous story of your mom maybe taking your grandfather's car and having things not quite work out.
Oh, listen to this story. This is the kidnapping story with Fibbles. Little Fibby was almost kidnapped. Shout out to Fibbles, Richie.
Or maybe some anti-theft going off unexpectedly.
Yeah, and that's another prime example of Providence for you. Like when I try to explain Providence, I talk about South Philadelphia all the time.
This is now right here. This is where I do all my streams. Right here is Atwell's Avenue. Right here. This is Atwell's Avenue. This is where I do all the streams from the feast and all that shit.
Is being an enclave of Italians that look out for each other and everybody knows everybody's business. That's the way.
Yes, but why doesn't nobody see what he just said right there? Everybody knows everybody's business. Why doesn't nobody know you? Why doesn't nobody from the neighborhood know who you are? Nobody knows you from our neighborhood. Nobody.
Way a lot of Brooklyn, like New York neighborhoods were. It was the same in Providence, the same in South Philadelphia, even today. But my mother had borrowed my grandfather's Cadillac, and it was started prior to her getting into it, so it was no big deal. She just put it in drive and go. We were going up to Federal Hill. Maybe we were going to Anthony's bus stop to get cold cuts or whatever. And we went in there. We start driving up. She's talking about whatever, chain smoking with the windows up. You can't do that today.
He gets that from Donnie Brasco.
But we pulled in front of Anthony's. I went in, got some stuff, came back out. She's like, I'm going to run over here. It was like a nickel and dime dress store. And she's like, I'm going to go in here. You'll be all right, blah, 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 blah. She turns off the ignition. Okay. She leaves. I'm sitting in the back seat. It's summer. It's hot as crap on those leather seats. So I'm bouncing around like a typical kid, And apparently, whatever business she did, she knew the owners everywhere. We knew everybody who owned everything. We had cousins who owned an awning shop up on the hill. And she comes out.
Everybody knew everything. Well, how doesn't nobody know who the fuck you are? Nobody knows you over here. For years, everybody like, who is this fucking weirdo? Who's his family? That's why he could never tell you who his grandfather. His grandfather's deceased, so there's no problem to say who he was, right? Like, what's the problem? Why can't you say your grandfather was? Because he wasn't a fucking gangster at all. Or you wouldn't have lied to Angel Gotti and said he was Raymond Petriarca, you fucking weirdo.
And apparently, I guess when she went in the store, and this is impertinent to the story, is that I guess the owners weren't there at the time. So it was somebody new, so they didn't recognize her. Well, she comes back, she gets in the car, she starts it up. All of a sudden, windshield wipers start going to the horn, starts.
Yeah, there was somebody new working there that didn't recognize her. I thought you knew everybody.
But the car started. So I'm 10 years old. The horn's going crazy. The wipers are going. The lights are flashing. And she's like screaming because she doesn't know what the hell she did to the car. Your grandfather's going to kill me. I don't know what I did to the car. I said, just drive. The problem is that because the people inside recognized the car, but they didn't see my mother get in the car, they think I'm being kidnapped off the hill. So,
all right, how do they think you're being kidnapped when there's somebody didn't see somebody driving? And then they think it was Bill Cosby, ghost dad, right? So he's saying that they didn't see his mother in the car, but they seen him in the car. And another time he told this story, he said the butcher across the street recognized him, but didn't recognize the mother. How the fuck, if they know you, they know your mother, right? And none of them seen the mother. They just see a car with nobody driving the car.
What ends up happening is we're going down Atwell's Avenue. Atwell's to where my grandfather lived, to Modena Ave, was 5-8 minute drive.
Yeah, so that means it's not Federal Hill, you fucking idiot. Your grandfather didn't live in Federal Hill. He lived on Smith Street.
The whole way, she's so afraid to stop at red light, she just blows through them. Because she's like, I'm afraid the police are going to arrest us. So horns going, lights are going. I'm hopping up and down in the backseat, having a great time. But to outsiders, it looks like this kid's losing his shit. Somebody stole a car.
Somebody stole the car. It's a woman in it. It makes no sense. This story is fucking insane.
Time we pulled up in front of my grandfather's house.
Listen.
My grandfather's coming out the door. There's two other guys, and I can see them putting pistols in their coat pockets. And he turns and he looks, what the hell is this? And she's like, oh my God. And then he says to her, you got to hit the button under the dash.
All right. So, all right. Now, remember how, like, you're going to realize how small Providence is. From Atwell's Avenue to Modena Ave and Smith Street is about 7-8 minutes. Like he said, he's right on that. But within 7 minutes, the people called up the grandfather and said, your kid was kidnapped. There's some ghost driving the car. We don't know who's driving the car. And everybody had guns out within 7 minutes. This makes no sense. Think about that. 7 minutes to get to a house. You get there, everybody's got guns because Fibby's kidnapped. What? This is ridiculous. And the other neighbors, everybody would have seen your mother and knew it was your mother if they really knew who your mother was.
because it's the auto remote start. It disengages the alarm. They thought that I had been kidnapped. They were prepared to get in the car and go looking. And that's probably just another example, one of many. And there was one other time where...
How is that an example that the guy's in the mob? Yeah, Providence is mad small, Fibby Colombo.
I was playing out in the street, and I was waiting for the ice cream truck because this guy Joey ran the truck and he would give us free stuff. And I remember looking at my grandfather's Cadillac, and right above the dash on the left-hand side was a sheriff sticker. I thought he was a sheriff. So I'm like, wow, he's a sheriff of Providence. Like, I didn't know any better. And so my mother comes out and I said, is Grandpa a sheriff? And she started laughing. She goes, well, sort of. And I said, well, what do you mean? Does he like arrest people? She goes, oh, no. I said, so does that mean that what if somebody, as a little kid, I'm like trying to play out the worst case scenario as to what could happen to sort of my grandfather prove his prowess of being a sheriff? And I said,
prove his prowess?
Well, what if somebody came to hurt us? Would he stop? And she said, if anybody tried to lay a hand on you, 1,000 men would come to kill them. Which is
if anybody laid a hand on you, 1,000 men would come and kill them. Now, only she can beat you up, Fibby. Now, mind you, this woman right here, the mother, he tries to paint as the most abusive woman in the world. Dock cigarettes out on him, beat him with hammers, and all kinds of other stuff he says. This is outrageous.
A little odd thing to tell a child. And then I remember saying to her, well, what if somebody wanted to hurt him? She goes, they wouldn't dare.
They wouldn't dare.
And I just said, okay. And went back to playing with my little wrestler toys or whatever it was.
So, and this is definitely not a planned question, so you don't have to.
Do you remember when he said the mother, when he got arrested, the mother's like, wow, now we got a felon in the family. He said his mother said, he says so many contradictory things. Why would the mother say, now we got a felon in the family if her whole family members are all felons? And Jeff's not even a felon. He's got 3 felonies. His lawyer says no.
Sure, answer it, but did your grandfather, maybe, I'm gonna guess he probably never talked about it, but maybe maybe it's something you heard about. What was his life like growing up? How did he become involved in the life? I'm gonna assume the time frame is 30s, 40s, man. 50s. How did he become involved?
I think as a result of a lot of racism. I know that sounds a little odd to say. There's a lot of Irish in Providence, and people of like thoughts and like minds kind of congregate together to protect each other.
Irish racism. So the grandfather joins the mafia because of Irish racism in Providence. Oh my God, that is so stupid.
Their businesses. But my grandfather was a little different because when all the kids were going to school with their nickel for their lunch for the week or whatever it is, my grandfather would refuse to eat. He would not eat it. He wouldn't eat lunch at school. And instead, and this is God's honest truth, at 11, 12 years old, my father was saving those nickels and he went into the city, into Providence, and found a stockbroker. This is an 11 and 12-year-old kid. Because when my grandfather...
So an 11-year-old kid finds a stockbroker.
Passed away, the amount of stock in Apple and Daimler Chrysler, Texas Instruments was
that's a great point, man in the box. So the grandpa that just sat there while I watched the grandson that was being drowned. Yeah, evidently, Fibby's stories don't make up. That's why the grandfather would have never said to him, you don't hit people in front of people. People can get you arrested. It's like, no, they were in the water and the kid's drowning his cousin. Like his grandfather said, good job.
This isn't the exact number, but at the time of his passing, we all got somewhere north of 275,000 in stock.
BK. Well, that's what he said, BK. He said that his mother would put cigars out on him, cigarettes, abuse him. He painted the woman as in such a terrible light. And this woman adopted him. I heard she was a good woman. That's what the people in Virginia Beach said, that she was a nice lady.
And there was 30 of us. If you do the math on that, that's a lot of money, right?
Yep.
But I think that my grandfather it's along ethnic lines, and I hate to kind of say it, but that was the time period that they were in.
Yes. He almost clipped Henry Hill, New Orleans. At 13 years old, the mafia wanted Fibby to set up Henry Hill. Fibby admitted that in his own words. Go watch my Henry Hill video 2 videos ago. Jacob Stukes, if you're listening to this, howdy doody.
I think that a lot of people stuck together because it was just integral to survival in those days. And listen, the teens, the 20s were a tough time. And he had...
Yeah, it was a tough time, but nobody joined the mob because of Irish racism. They joined it because they wanted to. No one joined it from Irish racism, you fucking idiot. That's so weird to even say. Federal Hill was an enclave of all Italians. Maybe if you went to an Irish neighborhood, maybe a fight would have happened, but why would he have to join the mob because of Irish racism? What the fuck?
He came from a large family himself. He had 8 children himself. So I think he was one of 9, and my mother's one of 8. So I think that you're almost forced to, and I'll tell you this much, is that, he got into Boston College. He could have gone to college, but...
All right, so he's a mobster in Boston College also. Mob guy, 12 years old, stock markets, all this shit, and a gangster at the same time.
He knew family needed money. And that is just sort of what dictated that he became a quote-unquote businessman, because that's what they all refer to themselves as, businessmen.
As business? No, you're a fucking idiot, kid. You know nothing about the state.
Never went to work, didn't seem to have an office, had the nicest cars, the vacations. and could press a button and problems got fixed.
I could press a button and problems got fixed. This is sad. This is some real culture vulture shit right here.
Yeah, I think it was, especially in that.
My dog's more Italian than these two guys put together.
At times, I did an episode on the small Dones, and I know the small Dones were not necessarily mafia per se, but they grew up.
What the fuck is a small Don? That sounds like a Little Debbie's cupcake or something.
Along the same lines, in terms of big family, big Italian family, had to work at a very early age. Many, not just Italians, but many many kids at that age were dropping out of school, going to work early. Angelo Bruno, in his episode, was another, and it was just the times you had to work to support your family, even at a very early age. And the concept of, hey, my parents are going to make money and provide for me, that kind of exists today. And the thing you do, you go to high school, you go to college, then you go to your career. It was a lot different. Where families, in the 20s and 30s were just trying to survive, and every member of the family had to be a contributor in some way, shape, or form. So that's kind of what I'm hearing. And some people, when it came to making money, they saw the root of the life, and that's an easy way to make money if you're not coming from a very privileged background. That's an easier way to do it. And not only that, it's there's a certain
two fucking nerds up here. One lying to this guy. This guy is just eating the manure.
allure over time, especially if you grew up in the neighborhood. Whereas, some places you may look up to the baseball player.
Yeah, Jeff didn't grow up in fucking Providence. He didn't grow up in Federal Hill. His grandfather didn't even live there. He lived in Modena Ave. That's over on Smith Street, dude. Totally. That neighborhood was Irish and Jewish, man. My mother used to live there with all the Irish. It was an Italian neighborhood.
Player, right? Or I'm trying to think of other professions, but they're all escaping.
That neighborhood in Modena Ave over on Smith Street has a fucking synagogue and an Irish church over there. That was an Irish and Jewish fucking neighborhood where his grandfather lived. And funny, they got the last name Lohman.
Me now, whereas in these places, in places like Federal Hill, you looked up to the guy on the corner.
Well, it's funny, not to interrupt you, but I think you'll find this humorous, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, but I can now.
He can say this now.
I can say this now. I couldn't say it publicly before, but certain mobsters are dead now.
Fucking weird.
So how my grandfather met my grandmother is hilarious.
You notice he moved away from the Federal Hill thing real fast. Stooks wanted to hear about Federal Hill, close, tight neighborhood, this and that. And you see how fibby deflected right there?
My grandfather was, quote unquote, doing dry goods. Okay. Yep. But he was going to Scranton, PA. He was going to New York for things, whatever. He met my grandmother outside of Scranton. And how he met her was she was a bootleg driver.
Wow.
And she was bootlegging liquor.
That's not true neither. We found the article where he stole this from. He got this article from a Detroit woman. It's an article on all those mob crime pages from a woman in Detroit. He took the exact story and switched up a few things and made it his grandmother. And he also said she sold heroin.
Or at least this would have been a little bit after, right before Prohibition ended. She was 15. And the reason why they used her was because nobody on earth is going to stop a young female driving a truck. A male, absolutely, but not her. So she would drive the truck from Providence to New York, to Scranton, to Hershey, to Woonsocket, to Boston. And that's how they met.
No, he's lying there. Do you think a 15-year-old girl is driving state to state back in the 20s? You don't think other gangs would have robbed their shipments and stuff like that? Or what if the fucking cops got a flat? All bullshit. Now, the real woman who did that would only drive in Detroit. She would drive a few streets over around Detroit. That's it, in the daytime. At nighttime, people are definitely going to stop a 15-year-old girl. Back then, especially back then, right? You got no windshield wipers, probably no even fucking headlights, right? Give me a fucking break driving all over. He stole that thing. What a shame to do that to your grandma. Well, he's not really related to these people. He hates his family, so why not reinvent a whole new one, right?
Met, which, and then I think
Fibio, murder sweatshirts. Yeah, imagine that. I don't know anybody whose grandpas or anybody who was in that lifestyle who would go sell omerta shirts, dude, and do this kind of shit.
Married at like 2021, something like that.
Wow. Yeah. And so I'm just going to go out on a limb and say she must have been a tough lady, because especially at 15, bootlegging was not an occupation that was without danger, right? It was a dangerous thing, especially being the driver.
Yeah, they would have robbed. So other people would have robbed her. A 15-year-old girl driving state to state. Some psycho Ted Bundy could have heard her. Who the fuck is going to send a 15-year-old girl driving with thousands of dollars of bootleggers stuff, right? Not a shot.
Knowing that shipments all the time were getting hijacked. And, if you think about that time period, you got in New York, the Castello Moresi War. And if you're in Chicago.
He's all into it. Look how excited this guy gets. He gets all excited like a tard. Gets all excited.
So you've got all the back and forth fighting. So, you know, that was a high violence time period. So to be a driver, much.
2 ex-NASA engineers just created a
He's
portable
crazy.
AC that is making old expensive models obsolete.
Less a 15-year-old woman, you gotta be seriously tough.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it she did, but I know it was
Oh,
enough.
see how he walks? He's trying to walk it back a little. When Stukes hits him with some of the dangers, he tries to walk it back a little. Mailman Nick, what's up, bro? Make sure you guys sub to Mailman Nick.
That he took notice, and she was a tough lady, tough old broad. She had her quirks too. I mean, she drank a beer for lunch, you know, and smoked her cigarettes, which is probably a healthy thing to do, you know. But she always believed that in 1969, after men landed on the moon, it screwed up the weather system in Providence. She blamed astronauts for the rest of her life, and whether or not that was like just delusion or whether she was just certifiably crazy.
There are some other people in Providence who say that same thing. I've heard that before. Because I do believe Fibby's grandpa lived in Rhode Island, and the mother lived here when she was younger. Then moved away. They never fucking lived up here. Fibby never did.
She would not hesitate. She would drop the F word without hesitation, you know. But you know, when they would fight, they'd fight in different languages because both of them spoke 7 languages. So they were not like unintelligent people. They were
both of them spoke 7 languages. Grandpa and grandma, the bootlegger, they both spoke 7 fucking languages. And they would argue in other languages. Sure, Fibby. Sure, Fibbles.
educated and granted they spoke very guttural, if that makes kind of any sense to you, but they were no dummies whatsoever, none.
Well, and when you think about it, I feel like, and the no dummies comment is going to get me on a tangent. You know, some of the men, they get involved in this life. Sure, they maybe don't finish high school, they don't go to college, don't run a Fortune 500 company or anything.
Wait, Fibby's dad Fibby's grandpa went to Boston College. What are you talking about, Stukes? Fibby's mafia grandpa went to Boston College. He just told you that.
Like that, but many of them are so smart and so bright that if they chose to do that, they absolutely could have done that legitimately because of how bright, you know, and how bright they were in the minds that they had for business and the minds that they had. And what really made, in my opinion, the mafia work was the ability to make connections with people across the country and to read people and of course the violence, right? But the mind for business.
Of course, the violence, right? Because that's what makes me go howdy doody.
This guy is literally howdy doody, Mr. Rogers, all wrapped into one.
And the ability to make those connections across the country to make it kind of an interlocked national thing. So these guys, these people were not idiots, even though they maybe didn't finish even 7th grade, many of them.
Well, and I think a lot of it too.
Oh, what about Fibby's grandpa? Secret in college, for Christ's sake, Stukes. I told him that.
You know, is they don't have the money to go to school, right?
Nope.
They're not going to, this was before you could get like financial aid, right? Or big time scholarship.
Just Fibby's just saying they didn't have the money to go to college. Did he just forget? He told him that his grandfather was in college? So when Pierre comes back in the picture, oh yeah, Paps needs gas money. Pierre, Dave, what's up, Boston Laborers Union?
Ships or whatever the case may be. And it's
what's up, David? Loman is a scumbag manic. Yes, he is. His emotions are all over the place. He's had a rough week, Fibbins.
In a different time period where it's almost impossible. Even if they finish school, there's just no way they're ever going to get there. And so for a lot of them, the justification of that becomes, well, I had no other choice. So I did what I did. But if they had that college degree, yes, then those doors open to like finance and banking and all of this stuff. But if you look at organized crime as a whole, they're all finance guys. They're all banking guys. They're all investors. I mean, they're brilliant.
How would you know? You don't know. This kid's fucking nuts.
Most of them. There's some that are, you know, not from the peanut factory, but but it's like anything else in life. There's a lot of winners, a lot of losers still. You know, it just depends. But the majority of men that I have met that come from that sort of career are no.
That sort of career, like the guys at the Frankie Valley concert, Fibby, all the maid guys at the Fibby concert, Frankie fucking Valley. Oh my God.
Are just absolutely not. And you always say to them, like, I have 2 guys I talk to specifically, says, you know, you could have been anything, you know, you're doing whatever you do now, but you do realize you're a huge success now. You're a multimillionaire now. You don't need it anymore. And they always look at me and say, you're right, but I like the action. And I said, but you know, the action is what's going to put you behind the wall.
All right. So Jeff's telling all the mobsters, you know, you don't need it no more, but they're telling Jeff, I like the action. Didn't that come from a movie too? Isn't that in a movie that one of the mob guys, like, I just love the action.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. That's one of my favorite sayings. It is what it is.
Unreal.
So, you have also mentioned on your show a couple of times, and I think you actually did a YouTube episode, I don't know, 9 or 10 months ago.
Heat. Yeah, Heat. Thank you, Jason. Heat. That's right. He just loves I'm in it for the action. Fibby's a big Heat fan also.
Where you talked about your cousin, and I feel a little bit more comfortable mentioning this person by name. And if you're familiar with the Providence underworld, you'll know this name, a guy named Joseph Joe Badway.
No, he stole Trock's cousin. This is not Fibby's cousin. And he's not an Italian anyways. He's not a made guy. Yeah, he was Raymond's driver and a good dude, Joe, and his brother. But these are not Fibby's cousins. And this guy died in his 80s down in Florida. Fibby never met this fucking guy. Remember, he told the story that the grandfather says, you better watch out for Joe. Why would a grandfather tell you to watch out for your cousin, especially when you're 8 years old?
And he was connected, and I don't want to like bury the lead, but Joe Badway was connected to some very influential people. As you know, based on my research, it looks like he was the driver for none other than Ray Patriarca for all the pronunciation people. Senior had connections with Joseph Bevilacqua, who was, I believe, the Supreme Court, the head of the Supreme Court for
Bevilacqua Senior. Bevilacqua Junior was a good guy too. He represented Rudolph in a lot of cases. The son's got a good law firm.
Rhode Island, and I think officiated his wedding. And then for those of you that have listened to the Crime Town podcast, which is another good one about Providence, Mayor Buddy Cianci. So I guess.
Buddy Cianci, Fibby's father, almost Fibby's dad. Fibby said his mother almost married Buddy Cianci. Another story.
Could you tell us a little bit about Joe Badway?
So first of all, I can tell you, my mother dated Buddy Cianci.
What's up, Jesus Saves?
In high school. Yeah. He was a friend of the family in the beginning. Not the end.
Yep.
But
he was a friend of the family in the beginning, but not the end. And he almost married his mother. They went to the same high school together. Somebody should look up what high school Buddy Cianci went to and see if we can find Loman's mother in there. What a fucking liar.
Goes without saying. But the bad ways, I knew Malcolm more, to be honest with you. To say, when somebody's your cousin, he's your cousin. I'm not invested in, and I was way too young to totally understand what it is that he did. But I can say this much about him is that he commanded a room like nobody's business. When he spoke, everybody listened. And my grandfather always used to say something sort of off kilter to me, is be careful around Joe. Be careful around Joe. Not that he was like some sort of nutcase, but there was something.
Why would he say that to you? Be careful around Joe. Why the fuck would he say that to you? What's up, Joey? Is it true Frankie the Fly had his way, Frankie Valley, or the other way around? Fibby knew he was lip singing.
Things that took place. I'm trying to be very careful with what I say here, but there was an incident that took place in California that.
Now listen to this right here. He's like, I got to be very careful what I say. Right? He's talking about that fucking rat Joseph Barboza that they've done a million TV shows and all that stupid shit on, but he's trying to act like the Stoops, like this is like inside information and all this shit. Everybody's seen this shit on the news in the 70s and 80s.
Someone else got credit for something bad that happened. J.R. Russo got credit for something bad that happened. And he had nothing to do with that. I can tell you that is a certifiable fact. So, Joe was a lovable guy, calm demeanor, loving, like not like the Roy DeMeos of the world, where they're secretly doing this. Non-violent guy for the most part. But he was a guy that when he showed up, people got quiet. And I noticed the eyes always went to him, but he was always the type of guy.
The eyes always went to him. You didn't even know him, Fibby. You didn't even know the guy. He commanded a room like no other. You didn't know the man. He, when you were a fucking little kid, he was in his 80s living in Florida, dude.
Both. God bless him. Every time they saw me, it was money in my pocket. They'd go get my mother pastries from Boston if she wanted them. But he
just said he didn't even know them that well.
Actually ended up moving down to Florida. Yeah. Like the last, I think 15 years he was alive. And obviously there was sort of a parting between myself and my family over some things. And so
there was a parting between him and his family over some things. Yeah. The thing was these lies that you're making up. Your family were fucking disgusted with you that you told everybody they were in the mob. You fucking weirdo.
Didn't really get to know him that well in his, upper 70s, early 80s. I would have loved to because
he just admitted it. On one hand, he knew him and he commanded a room like no other and he'd always give him money. But 2 minutes later, he was in his 80s. He didn't know him that well and didn't see him that much. So which is it?
Love to have asked him, but he was just a knockaround guy through and through. One of the most trusted guys in New England. And I firmly believe had he not been Lebanese, he would have been a fully inducted member. And in fact, it really doesn't matter because he was treated like a Joe Watts, like he was. And it's just all the way.
So if you can talk about Badway, why can't you talk about your grandfather? Why can't you say Secret Grandpa's name? Huh, Fibbins?
These guys up there like that. So it's, I don't really have like, nothing really sticks. I can tell you one story though. I remember it was probably, I had to have been about 9. And I remember.
Yeah, Jesus saves. I agree with you. In case they're like I said, they're your family members or friends or something like that. You're related to them. You grew up around them. That's different. But if you just know these people from the news and all this shit, it's fucking weird, dude. It's super weird.
We're staying at my grandfather's Christmas Eve. Everybody's gone to bed. My brother wakes me up. Listen. And I thought I heard him going, ho, ho, ho. And I said, knock it off. I'm trying to sleep already. I got to get up in the morning to open up.
All right, here's where he's going to tell you that Joe Badway dressed up as fucking Santa Claus for Fibby. What? The guy was in his 80s and sick. He's going to dress up as Santa? Listen to this.
Yes. And I keep hearing ho, 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 ho. And I'm like, would you stop? He goes, it's not me, it's Santa. And I'm like, come on. Like I believed in Santa then, so and Santa's still real to me now as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my God, Santa's still real to me now. This kid is pathetic, and he's loving this. Right now, there's somebody giving him his full attention who thinks he's somebody, thinks he's Mr. Mafia. He loves this. He is cherishing this. He wishes he could live in this moment for the rest of his life.
I have kids. He's definitely real. But I remember he took my brother took me downstairs, and there's Santa. And Santa's drinking a scotch. And Santa doesn't really have his beard on that well. And in fact, Santa's got a lot of beard grit, drinking scotch in one hand, cigar in the other. And somebody goes, hey, Jeffrey, how you doing? And I'm like, I looked at my brother. He sounds a lot like Uncle Joe. Which I called him Uncle Joe. He was my second cousin. He goes, no, that's Santa. And my cousin Joe stands up. He goes, oh, come over here and give Santa Claus a hug. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding.
What a bullshit story. If he wanted to be Santa Claus, why is he all bombed out, sitting in your living room at night, drinking beer? And his Uncle Joe, it makes no fucking sense. If he's trying to make the kid believe he's Santa, wouldn't he have his fucking beard on? This is just fucking wacky, dude.
Kidding me. I could see he's wearing
Why, this ain't cringe as fuck, facts over feelings. And it's all lies. This is all fucking bullshit, dude. All lies. That's why this guy took this interview down. Why do you think this interview was taken off the internet? Shout out to Spike Cult. The channel links in the description.
His penny loafers. I mean, he didn't even not the boots, not nothing else. The red jacket's open. I could see his silk tie. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I never said anything about it. But the next day, my mother goes, did you see Santa last night? And I was like, yeah, Uncle Joe looks great. She's like, he was just playing a trick. It's just a funny trick. And I'm like, yeah. My grandfather's like, did you really pull this crap off of this kid? So yeah.
Wait, so they didn't know. So Joe just comes in the house at the wee hours of the night and nobody knows. It just makes no fucking sense. No fucking sense. And let me just play this.
That's one of my favorite memories of Joe.
Yeah,
that's one of his favorite memories. Never happened.
Gosh,
I don't think I've ever told that either.
No, I don't think I've heard that. That's a really funny story that I think everybody.
No, because Jeff just made it up, Jacob. He stole that from Married with Children. Hold on a minute. Destabilizing America or Bad Santa. He probably did. He probably stole it from Married with Children or Bad Santa. Everything that Fibby takes is from movies. Drop that zero and get with a hero. He even steals from bad movies. Shout out to the 2506. Fibby doesn't discriminate. Even bad movies he'll steal from.
Can relate to. But yeah, definitely a very serious dude.
Oh yeah.
So you grew up in Federal Hill Province in the late 70s, in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you hear that? You grew up in Federal Hill Providence in the 1980s. That's the biggest fucking lie I've ever heard. Can you prove that? Can you show us what school you went to? Did you go to the Federal Hill House? Why didn't I ever see you at Gessa Street Pool? Why never see you at Zugalo Gym, Ridge Street Park? Why never see you nowhere? Why doesn't no one from the neighborhood fucking know you? You didn't grow up there. He says he was breaking into houses up Federal Hill too. I can tell you that for a fact. That never fucking happened.
One of the things I would consider that especially in Providence, maybe the tail end of what I would classify as the golden era, with the golden era being 50s.
The golden era.
And 60s, just like most other cities. But you often hear, and I've got a lot of listeners and commenters that talk about how Providence was safer then. And
yes, May Queen, he is that. Yes, May Queen, you're right. You are right. He is that aroused by this and loving this. He is loving every minute of this weird fucking sick interview.
I know when you look at crime statistics, maybe that's true, maybe that's not true, but people feel that it was safer, in the time of Raymond Patriarca Sr. So I guess I would just ask, what was it like growing up on Federal Hill? Was it safer, or at least did you feel like it was safer?
I was a kid, didn't know any different, really.
Yeah.
And
like he was a kid, he wouldn't have known any different. Give me a fucking break. And let me tell you, Federal Hill is safe right now. Federal Hill was a dangerous neighborhood in the 90s. The 90s and the early 2000s, they started getting gentrified around like 2012, 2013, 14. They started gentrifying it. The neighborhood's safe as it ever was right now. But it was bad in the 90s and the 2000s.
And was it safer? It was safer for people who knew Ray or knew my grandfather or my uncles or my cousins. It was safer for them. It was safer for the old ladies. But the one thing I can say is I remember there was a rash of kidnappings that were going on. And
no, there wasn't a rash of kidnappings. It was 2 kidnappings. Frankie Bonds and Jason Wolf were kidnapped in 1987. And they weren't kidnapped up Federal Hill. They were kidnapped up Valley Street and South Side.
I was born in 77. 5, 6 years old, whatever the case. And there's a rash of kidnappings going on. And
dude, if you this is what pisses me off because I literally from the state, you know what I mean? My family lived up, my father was born up Federal Hill. My grandmother lived up there. All my cousins lived on Knight Street, Elmy Street, Penn Street. I grew up I'm from Kinley Street in Johnston. But on the weekends and the weekdays, I'd go hang with my cousins up there. I'd go to my grandmother's house, sleep over. I knew that neighborhood well. All my cousins still live up. This kid's a fucking liar. What a bullshit artist. Dude, you would have got your ass beat.
Terrified me because every night at 11 o'clock, my father's watching this. Another one got taken off the streets, you know, and like it terrified me. And my dad finally like said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm afraid somebody's gonna kidnap me." And everybody starts laughing. Ain't nobody gonna touch you. They're not coming within 10 feet of you. And while that,
they're not gonna kidnap him. William Sarmento would have kidnapped anybody. He was a sick, deranged fucking child killer, dude. He wouldn't have cared about secret mafia grandpa. And you didn't even live up here around that time, you fucking clown, because you would have had to go to elementary school. And where'd you go? Did you go to Kenyon? Did you go to George J. West? Did you go to Bridgham? You didn't go. Fucking liar, dude. What do they homeschool you, Fibby, and you never left the house? Why don't we ever see you up at fucking Ridge Street Park? Why aren't you ever playing basketball or baseball with us up at fucking Ridge Street? Fucking liar. What's up, WOC?
that was comforting. It was one of those oxymorons that you're told, when, like, what do you mean? Like, who's going to stop you? Superman going to come save me, Batman. But were we safer? I mean, there were certain things that just weren't going to happen, like drugs, for example. You couldn't, it's one of the myths, and I really get aggravated with people when they say this, is that, well, the Italians don't want drugs in the neighborhoods, but they're selling them. But, okay, that's true, but they're not selling them in their own neighborhoods. And
how do you know they're selling drugs, Fibby? You don't say people are selling. How do you know who's selling drugs? He doesn't know any fucking, he never knew any wise guys from Rhode Island, dude. He just lies.
That doesn't make it any better. And I'm not saying that makes it more palatable in any sense, okay, morally. But if somebody broke into somebody's house in the neighborhood, they got caught, and jail wasn't going to suffice. They would get a beating. If you threw a piece of trash on Federal Hill, 6 men would come to your door.
That's not even true. This kid's a fucking idiot.
And it helped insulate organized crime guys, because you mentioned earlier the telephone game. Well, if somebody was over watching a Coin-O-Matic and they didn't recognize him, race phone.
Now he gets this. See the stuff he's saying. He gets this from all the news stations. Everybody knows these things. Every Raymond Petriarca documentary out there says, "Oh, Raymond has 1,000 eyes." All the old ladies would call up anybody who came in the neighborhood. They would call Raymond. Everybody knows this shit. So Fibby's acting like he's giving them like inside information. Everybody who watched the news or any of these stupid mob documentaries knows this shit.
On my uncle's phone, my grandfather's phone ring. Hey, there's some weird car that's parked out. They're taking photos. So it helped insulate him that way. But as far as really being safer, I mean, maybe for me it was. Maybe for my relatives it was.
Maybe for him it was. Mind you, they lived on Modena Ave, which is on Smith Street, not even Federal Hill. What street did your grandpa live on up the hill, Fibby? Because he didn't. He lived on Smith Street, fucking Modena Ave, which is an Irish and Jewish neighborhood.
But for other people that weren't connected or didn't know any people, it was probably just business as usual on the street. So while I can agree that...
But Fibby's connected. He's connected. Connected to what, Pierre? Connected to Fago?
People say, oh, it was so much safer then. Really, was it? I mean, yeah, you don't have school shootings back then and this crazy stuff that happens today. But for people who didn't know somebody, or people who didn't have the availability to go and see somebody in the corner and say, look, I got a problem with my neighbor.
Listen,
or there's a guy that just got out of jail. He's a rapist. Times are just different. But were we safer? No. I mean, you take your risk crossing the street, for God's sakes. But I think just depending on who you knew is whether or not it made it safer. But I will tell you this about Federal Hill now. I hate it. Look, I hate it. I was back a year and a half ago, and I was just disgusted. Trash.
Well, he's lying right here. He did this in 2019. He said a year before he was up Federal Hill and there was trash. That's bullshit. The neighborhood's been clean as a whistle and gentrified with all these hippies and yuppies buying everything up the last 20 fucking years, dude. Maybe if you were talking about 1992, I would believe you, but no, this kid's so full of shit.
Everywhere, people it's just different world. And it's weird because that's home, and that's where, the feelings of the love that you have for your family come.
Did you hear him? That's home. Federal Hill is home to him. Do you know how outlandish and crazy that is?
You go down the street, you see your grandfather's old house, and you just sit on the stoop for 10 minutes. And you just want to.
They hear that? You walk down the street. How do you walk down the street in Federal Hill and sit on your grandfather's stoop when he lives on Modena fucking Ave? How do you sit on your grandfather's stoop in Federal Hill and reminisce when he lives on Modena Ave on Smith Street? That's nowhere near Federal fucking Hill, you fucking dope. It's 8 minutes away. And 8 minutes away in Providence might as well be an hour.
To take it in. And you got somebody walking by, go F your mother. It's like, whoa, like this neighborhood's changed. And
there's nobody walking by, go F your mother and stuff, dude. He's fucking retarded. He's insane. Where do you get this stuff from, dude? Thanks for the Cash App. I appreciate that, man. This kid's insane. I had a buddy driving up the hill today. Did it look like a war zone? Those back streets are all hippies and yuppies. There's no he wasn't sitting on no staircase and people like F you. What a fucking weirdo.
That's what's sad. But I think that a lot of it is just amplified by the fact that he's not there anymore. And so you're kind of sitting there running a film strip through your mind of the old days. And
of
so,
the old days, he's saying, so you're running a film strip through your mind of the old days. How would you remember the old days? Raymond died in 1984 when we were fucking toddlers, you moron. Raymond died when you were 5 years old and I was 4 or 3. Otherwise, remember the old days. What the fuck are you talking about?
is it different? Yeah. Was it safer then? Probably a little bit anyway.
Federal Hills is safe as you can be right now. That neighborhood's safe. It's fucking all yuppies and hippies up there. It has been for 20 fucking years.
Again, with the changing in times, like violent crime and rapes and just awful things like that are just 10 times what they were back in those days. So I think it's generational, but I also think it's time period too. But if you wanted to base it on a level of, 1950 versus 1970 or 1980, I'm sure it was more. I'm sure people from the 50s would say, oh, it's gone to hell. It's gone to hell. It just depends on which generation I think you are.
I agree. And someday, hopefully in my old age, maybe I can hope to be the get off my lawn. Things were so
get
much
off my lawn. Buddies, that's right.
Things were so much better back
that's
in
right.
our
Yeah, he believes his own bullshit, Dave. Yeah. Well, I had to play this because they took this down off the internet, Beantown. This guy Fibby called up Stooks, told Howdy Doody to take this off the internet. Why would he take this down? If it's the truth, right? If this is the truth, why would you take it down? Right? If I did an interview on Josie's one time and shit. Imagine me calling her up saying, hey, take that down. Wouldn't you be like, why? Did you lie? Why take it down? Buddy Cianci's a longtime serving mayor of Providence, Rhode Island, attended Moses Brown School, a private Quaker prep school on the east side of Providence. He attended starting 5th grade. Yeah, so Fibby's mom was in that prep school? Yeah, right. Fibby is a bullshiter. He's totally lying. Oh, thank you, Destabilizing America. Much respect, thanks. But this pisses me off because some people are like, why does it get you so mad? Because I'm really from here. I grew up in Rhode Island my whole fucking life. And the people he's lying about, a lot of these people were my friends, my father's friends, my friends' dads and uncles and shit. Like, what the fuck? This kid's such a bullshitter. And if you're Secret Mafia Grandpa, how did Rudolph didn't know Secret Mafia Grandpa? R.I.P. to Rudolph Sciarra, right? How didn't he know Secret Mafia Grandpa? Because I remember one time he told Athena, my cousin Athena, Rudolph's granddaughter, he told her that he knew Rudolph's stories and he was going to tell her stories. She hit me up and said, hey, that guy's got stories. I was like, he's full of shit. He's lying. I was like, hit him back and tell you some of the stories. He never told her none of the stories. He's a fucking idiot. And any story he does have comes from the news. Tim fucking White and all these stupid news reporters and these stupid mob documentaries. That's where they get this shit from.
Okay. And yeah, if you've done any research on the goings on in Providence, especially in the 60s, man, it was a hit parade.
Oh, yeah.
It's going on in public.
Yeah, see this murder right here? Rudolph was charged as a conspiracy to this murder. He went away for this murder. He didn't do it, but he was found guilty of conspiracy to this fucking guy right here. Some rat, Nikki Palmangini, ratted him out. We had the fucking court transcripts. Rudolph gave me all of his shit. I'm the history guy in the family, so he gave me all of his shit like that. So I had the court transcripts of all this shit. I never really read them, but this guy, Baby Crucio, was murdered in the 60s, and Rudolph and Raymond were charged in 1983 for this murder. Raymond and Rudolph were both charged with this murder because of some rat liar.
All the time. We did a 2-part episode on Patriarcha, and as you got into the
Look, you can't even say Patriarcha.
60s, we really went deep into the 2 Marfeo killings, where it literally was open right into the public, and I believe it involved the baseball player.
Pro Lerner. He's a Jewish guy. He was a good dude, Pro Lerner. He actually played Major League Baseball for a little bit, AAA or something like that.
I don't know why his name. I did an episode on him, and his name escapes me. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, Maurice Pro Lerner. He was a friend of Rudolph's.
A hit parade in the 60s.
This garden hose nozzle multiplies your water pressure by 15 times without using a single drop of electricity.
For sure, and Patriarcha was not afraid to go to that darker side. So, as you're growing up, and I know we spent a lot of time on this, but I find it fascinating. You're growing up on the tail end of Patriarcha Senior.
You're growing up on the tail end of Patriarcha Senior. So this guy's thinking Fibby's growing up in Federate Hill with all kinds of mob uncles and cousins around him, and they're trying to maneuver the streets and fight the wars and battles. Stop it. Fibby watched too much of that rat Dominic Montiglio's documentary.
Died around 83 or 84, and after he passes, his son Raymond Patriarcha Jr. takes over, and I think in what I can at this point classify maybe as kind of a case.
Fibby said Raymond was his father. Fibby said Raymond Patriarcha Sr. was the grandfather, so Raymond Jr. must have been your father, right? You fucking idiot. Fucking idiot.
Of nepotism, although I don't necessarily think of Ray Sr. As somebody who would suffer from nepotism. Patriarcha Jr. took over, and he just wasn't his father. So pretty soon you had a revolt within the family led by the aforementioned J.R. Russo, Cadillac Frank Salemi, so on and so forth. And it was a bit of a messy time for quite a while
I hate listening to this shit right here. It pisses me off.
Family. And I guess, going through that messy time period, did those goings on affect you in any way?
If it did, I wouldn't have known.
Okay.
Did that affect you? How would that affect him? It didn't affect nobody. It didn't even affect those people's children or nothing. In case somebody went to jail. This guy, these people are sick, man. These people are fucking sick.
I tried to just think back and just to some different time periods. But what a lot of people aren't going to talk about, this has never been said anywhere publicly, so I'm going to give you a big deal here. What a lot of people don't understand is rubber lips, which is what my grandfather called him. Okay.
Now they're making fun of Raymond Jr. He's calling him rubber lips. He's making fun of his appearance. That's what the FBI gave him that name, you stupid prick. Raymond's a good guy who does real estate. He's a good man. You're a disgusting human being. And so your grandfather would make fun of Raymond Jr.? Yeah, okay. You fucking freak.
You have to understand, growing up, you hear names and stuff like that.
Yep.
But when you hear, that guy's a effing bum, can't do anything right, he's got no business being where he's at, blah, blah, blah.
Why would the grandfather tell him that? Think about this for 1 second. Earlier in the interview, he said his grandparents would never talk business and stuff like that to the kids, right? But now all of a sudden, Fibby's secret mafia grandpa is telling Fibby that Raymond can't run things and all this weird shit. Why would he tell that to a 7-year-old Fibby? Right?
Well, I knew something was going on, but it's just, to me, it was just like, oh, they're just.
He knew something was going on? Bull, get the fuck out of here. He's got a lot of balls talking shit about Raymond. I like to say, yeah, exactly. Well, Richie's actually a personal friend of him and grew up with his son. So yeah, we got a lot of Providence people in this chat, and this shit does piss me off. And this pisses me off.
Talking shop or whatever the case may be. But what people don't realize is, at one point, they were discussing building a new stadium for football. Okay.
Now he changed the subject too. This fucking kid is a beady-eyed little fucking culture vulture.
And there was actually more stuff that happened a decade later because of this, but there was a lot of argument because I'm trying to be careful how I say this, but the Patriots were going to move to Providence.
Yeah, I got to be careful how I say this. Why? The Patriots, this kid's a fucking idiot.
Wow. And there was a lot of financial sort of going back and forth, and it would have been controlled fully by organized crime as far as the land and everything else. And people were screaming at Raymond Jr. about this is the right thing to do. It's good money, and he didn't want to do it. And so
so now he's saying Raymond Jr. had something to do with the Providence. This is all bullshit. What's up, Angela? What's up, Watcher? Claudio, what's up, man? This is all bullshit, man. Heavily all lies.
Began sort of a cavalcade, and what we've seen historically in organized crime is if they feel a boss is too greedy, or he's not willing to push the button, or he's not willing to align, well, then they hostile takeover, right?
Yep.
Fast forward a decade later, or two.
He's reading. This all comes from the FBI. Everything he's telling you right now comes from the FBI and cringy mafia documentaries on YouTube. Everyone knew that the Patriots might have moved to Rhode Island. It's all over the news. I know, Richie. I remember seeing that back then. I was hoping it would happen. Everybody knew that back then. It was all over Channel 10, Channel 12, and Channel 6.
Was it Robert Kraft, right? That's the guy's name? Okay. Yep. He wanted to buy land that was owned by my family. And my uncle and my uncle's father-in-law, you can look up his name, Antonio Guerra, for what it's worth.
See, he can drop all these names, right? He can tell you all these people, but he can't tell you who Secret Mafia Grandpa is. Because remember, when he first met Angel Gotti, he told her that Raymond Petriarca was his grandfather. She told me that right in her fucking kitchen. She's like, he's sick, huh? He told me that. I'm like, what? I wish I would have asked her how she caught him in the lie. She probably just asked her brother.
A huge real estate guy, but You know what I mean by that, right? So they were talking about moving, the Patriots to Providence and putting them in the old foundry site, which my family owned, the whole entire foundry site. So that's like a $300-400 million land deal, right?
Silo and Loman are just neck and neck with the lies, bro. They are fucking neck and neck.
And that fell through. But I think as far as
the hostage pie,
I think there was a lot of politics that I was too young to really understand. Things like old world viewpoints, old world values, things like he sits in his effing office, does nothing all day. He couldn't think of his way out of a paper cup, stuff like that.
All right, he's talking shit about Raymond Jr. He's saying the grandpa is saying that he can't fight his way out of a paper bag. All this dumb shit makes no fucking sense. Yeah, I think he talks about the gunpoint thing on here. Yes, I think he talks about the guy holding them on gunpoint in this. Fibby says in the trial, he had someone sit on somebody with a gun. We'll listen to that.
I think it was not necessarily that anybody was going to back J.R. Russo, because I don't think that's what people wanted either, but somebody had to do it. But I think at that stage of the game, I think a lot of what my grandfather had been involved in was done. I think he just kind of sat back, he always say, let them kill each other, who cares?
Let them kill each other, who cares? Jesus, this is not a fucking, it's not a fucking, a job that you can just quit. Yeah, just kill everybody, who cares? This kid's so full of shit. This pissed me off.
He had made his money. He'd come up with Ray and everybody else.
He came up with Ray. You lying. How did he come up with Ray? He didn't come up with Raymond, you fucking clown. What a lie. Who is he? Say his name. He's dead. I can come on and tell you Rudolph's name. I dedicated the channel to him and Rocco. I can tell you his name. And he came up with fucking Raymond, you fucking idiot. You're a fucking phony, dude.
And so I think that just kind of...
Yeah, Family Ties. Yeah. What was that song from Family Ties? He's Mallory. He's Mallory from Family Ties.
I don't want to put words or thoughts into his head, but if I know him as well as, any grandchild would, I think it comes to the perspective of this thing or whatever we've been involved in is different now. Things are being handled non-respectfully. Things are being done.
Well, all right, let's say he was part of, you just don't quit organized crime like that. Let's just say Fibby's grandpa was this big made guy since the old days. All of a sudden he's quitting because there's no respect or whatever. Makes no fucking sense. And look at him up here trashing Raymond Jr. after he lied and said he was part of his family, you sick fuck.
Like giving up turf to the Gambinos. Like, what are you thinking? Aligning yourself with John Gotti. What are you thinking? This is not, so I think that there was a big generation gap. And I think you're right. I think there was a little bit of nepotism there.
He gets all this shit from the FBI. I don't know what's true and what's not with all this shit. I was a little kid. I didn't know what was going on. I don't even give a fuck about that shit. He doesn't know this shit neither. He's just taking things from the FBI and all these documentaries. He's ridiculous.
But I also know enough to know that Ray wouldn't have, to be honest with you, I don't think in his right mind would have put his son in charge of like crayons.
Jesus.
But that's just the way it is.
Why wouldn't he put him in charge of crayons? So he's trying to say Raymond's stupid. Raymond's smart, dude. Raymond's a multi-millionaire real estate guy. Multi-million real estate guy. He hasn't been in any trouble since 98. He was in, Raymond Jr. was in, he was in Milan, Michigan with Rudy, my cousin Rudy, back in the 90s, late 90s. He was in there. And once he got out, he fucking did real estate. Never got in trouble, minds his own business. And here he is trashing the guy after he lied and said he was a member of his family.
Me that actually.
I actually said, you actually believe this shit, do you? I remember that interview with Angel. Oh, I'd love to find that interview with him and Angel. That's where he told her, because in that interview, when they first met at Elio's office, she believed that he was Raymond's grandson. And that's why he took the video down, because in that video, he's like, me and her family, we have family ties together that nobody would understand. There are ties between our families. Our families are connected. They're very close. It's like, you lying motherfucker. You lie. Imagine lying to some lady and saying that my grandfather was friends with your grandfather, and then you get caught in a lie. How do you even look them in the face again? Ty Stein, what's up, brother? German Shepherd Pride. Yes, Raymond is very intelligent. He has more money than Fibbles could ever imagine. He's a real estate mogul, far from dumb. Exactly. He's not stupid at all.
Happened. And like I said, I didn't think, and it just seems like Ray didn't have a succession plan in place. And yeah, that's crazy.
No, I mean, I think that, he it's one thing if you're going to the can, right? You're never going to get out. Then you can set up sort of a...
Look, he's acting like he knows, like, what was in his mind, and he acts like he knows, like, the ins and outs. It's fucking weird. No, dude, they don't tell that shit to their kids and stuff and to their nephews. They don't tell that shit, man. They don't talk about that shit. I was at Rudolph for 12 years. I took care of him, right? That guy never told me about shit like that. We never talked about that stuff. They don't talk about that shit. Fucking idiot.
Line of succession of where this is going to go, but when you just drop dead of a heart attack, then what it becomes is
He said, why would he lie? Yeah, well, why would he look? Because he's a liar. Imagine still being friends with somebody after that. Ugh.
eating frenzy. Oh, there's blood in the water now. Everybody wants to take over. And logically, J.R. Russo, was one of the most powerful guys in that city. Rocco Argenti, same thing. A very powerful guy.
Look, they just said Rocco Argenti, and this pissed me off. And they don't put up a picture of Rocco. This is Rocco's father, Rocco Sr. This is the guy who had helped me take my staples out of my chest. He died like 6-7 years ago. He just said Rocco Argenti, and this name is not his nickname. You fucking retards. A rat put that nickname on him. Bobby DeLuca made up that nickname with the FBI. If you would have called Rocco Shaky, he would have punched your fucking head in. That's my friend's father. I knew him very well. And this is not him. This is his grandfather. This is Rocco's father. This kid, you got a lot of balls even mentioning his name, you fucking punk.
And so I think at the end of the day, when all of this sort of transpired, I think that a lot of people just
Shaky. Nobody ever called him Shaky. That's the government names they give people. You rat fuck.
threw their hands up and said, this is a wash, because they knew which direction it was going to.
Yeah, he made it all about him. The interview. Yeah, he was supposed to interview Angel. Crazy Brat, what's up? He was supposed to interview Angel, but all he did was talk about himself, dressing up as John Gotti for Halloween, and the grandpa patting him on the head. Fucking loser. Yeah, that's right, Reggie. They don't talk business in front of little kids. What a jerk off. No, they're not going to do that. It's fucking ridiculous. Rocco's dad, he was in his 80s. I wish Damien was in here. He was in his 80s, but he wasn't a mob guy or nothing like that. They put up the father instead of the son. What fucking idiots, man.
No, and nobody's about to put their family, their children, their grandchildren in harm's way over a title. Nobody's going to do that. Yep. But that sorted itself out pretty quickly. But it's been sort of.
They already just said nobody puts their family in harm's way over a title. Well, nobody hurts people's families, you fucking idiot. All you mob humps out there who watch every documentary in the world, you ever hear about somebody's family getting killed? It's fucking ridiculous.
Downhill since. For the most part anyway. I don't want to say today, but for the most part, it was all downhill.
Yeah. Well, they made him the lightning rod, and he took the lightning.
He did.
One last question before
She did the interview after he trashed her and her family. Never understood that. Me neither. But look at her track record. Every pal she's got, every man beside her on that show is somebody who abused her before.
I want to get into less about your coming up. I want to also be respectful of time.
Coming up.
You had a cousin, family member who made some bad business decisions. So I guess can you tell us what it's like to be on the darker side of the life?
Can you tell me what it's like to be on the darker side of the life? This is fucking outrageous.
For those that know and those that don't, Jake obviously knows. I didn't know what really happened until 20 years later. My grandfather's cousin.
Oh my God. Hello. What's up? What's the odds of that? This is the guy who said he was related to you and your grandpa. He said he was related on the head 3 times. Yeah, it's a suicide. Fucking liar. You're not from Providence, you punk.
Well, that I probably loved had something to do with it. Was a tough pill to swallow. But I think what enables you to escape that is you don't know. You don't know, and you're never going to know.
He said it was a tough pill to swallow when Norman was suicided with 3 bullets in the head. It was a tough pill to swallow. Shame on you, dude. You have some serious mental issues, bro. Serious. I thought I was batshit crazy. Oh my God.
No, and chances are whoever was involved, if that's the way it went down, they're dead now anyway. But it's sort of a
yes, William. Yes, senior and junior.
A Fredo type of situation. Is how can one hurt the other? It's always blown my mind. And I think
a Fredo situation. So is he saying one of his family members killed another family member? Fibby Corleone.
When you live on all sides of this, so it's different. If you're a guy such as yourself who enjoys history, enjoys the stories, enjoys the politics.
Look, this is Jeff. That's who you are. You're describing yourself.
To do research, you have the comfort of being able to put the book down and go into bed at night.
Listen,
right? I don't, because I live with that.
The comfortableness of putting the book down. Fibby doesn't. Fibby lives with it. He's fucking crazy. This is very ridiculous. If you only knew the bullshit that comes out of this guy's mouth.
And there's been other events that I'm not going to get into, at least not till, some of my family's dead.
Yeah, that, at least till some of my family's dead. This was done in 2019. Who the fuck's alive? Right? Give me a fucking break. This kid's such a bullshitter.
But I think it's just when you love people so very.
That's right. He plays sick. Every time he gets called out on something, he's either got cancer, God forbid. I don't wish that on nobody, but he'll say it. You should never lie and say you have cancer or you're sick. That's his pattern. You know how a turtle has a shell, a porcupine has quills to protect himself? Fibby has a coos. And what Fibby does is I'm sick, or I'm in a mental ward, or I'm having an operation. Olga's going to touch me. The lies that just spew.
Very, very much. And you can see the other side of that. It has a way of really warping your mind. It really does, because you love them. You're not going to stop loving them, but at the same time, you know what they're capable of. And being young and being impressionable, you think that's power.
Wow.
And my grandfather used to always say, power is not the matter of life and death. Power is with a look.
Power is with a look. Power is with a look.
Knowing it could go to that. Well, sort of like a threat, just giving somebody a look, knowing what I'm capable of is more, people will be afraid of you for the rest of your life, knowing what you're capable
of. Who the fuck is your grandfather? Because he wasn't Raymond Petriarca like you told Angel Gotti. He wasn't Raymond. Who was your grandpa? Right? His name was Thomas or some Thompson or Thomas. He was a Lebanese dude. He wasn't an Italian guy. He wasn't a made guy. And if he was, you wouldn't have to steal Raymond and say he was your grandpa, you wacko.
Capable of versus issuing a threat. A threat does nothing, but a proven history of not, the old saying, fuck around and find out, applies. And so for me, it's a weird.
This guy's got Omerta tattoos on him, La Cosa Nostra tattoos, all kinds of weird mob hump shit. These fanboys and shit who act like this, listen, if he came from a family like that, he'd never be on here with Omerta shirts and talking like this.
It's a weird place, even at almost 46, to be in, because you love them, but you know that somewhere down the line, people have probably done some very despicable things. Jesus. But that's them. And so maybe I compartmentalize that myself.
There are,
maybe he can compartmentalize that himself.
From my research, it's never, in rare cases, it's somebody all bad. Somebody's completely insane. There's a lot of shades of gray, and there's the human side to a lot of these people, and then there's the other side, the things that they've done, which get compartmentalized. And I can't imagine what it would have been like growing up with that knowledge. And that brings me, I think, to my
neither can he, Jacob, because he didn't grow up like that. Even kids with gangster fathers and gangster grandfathers and uncles don't grow up like that. They don't know that shit. They don't know that stuff. They think their dad's a fucking owns a store or something. They don't know that shit. They don't see this shit. Their family don't talk to them like that and talk about crimes and shit. Fibby, his grandfather would have never said that shit to him about Raymond Jr. Yeah, he's stupid and dumb and he's letting all the profits go and all this shit. Why would he tell an 8-year-old kid that? It's ridiculous. If you ever called Raymond Rubber Lips, Raymond would have punched him in his head, dude.
It's my next sort of set of questions. I feel like I'm just probing you with questions.
That's all right.
Yeah, they don't talk like that, Angela. Like, they don't fucking tell that kind of stuff. They don't talk like that in front of their children. It's ridiculous.
Jeff Canarsi grows up, right?
His name's Jeff Lohman, not Canarsi. And that's another thing he lied about. Yeah, he was born in Canarsi, Brooklyn. That's why he took the name. He had to steal some Italian name to go along with his bullshit, right? So he makes up a lie that he was born in Canarsie, Brooklyn. He lived there till he was 10 years old, then moved to Providence. Go look at the Scott William Collier true crime page. I have the article on some of my videos where he never mentions Virginia Beach.
At some point, you become rebellious. And
Heidi, what's going on, Heidi? Make sure you guys go support and check out Heidi. Tim, what's up, big bro?
You begin to get into the criminal lifestyle.
Listen.
So, what happened?
All right, now here's Jeff getting into the criminal lifestyle. Let's listen to this. Luke, what's up, bro? Montauk, my bro. Yanks for life. What's up? Listen to this bullshit. Now, Jeff's getting now, we just seen the video that came out on the Fibby channel today, right? Did you guys see that video with Jeff's lawyer talking and said Jeff's not a criminal, he's not a felon, nothing like that. His friend told on him and Jeff told on his friend.
It started at age 10. And I don't think I've ever told this story, but
it started at age 10. He started fucking his criminal career at age 10. Let's listen to the crimes a 10-year-old does.
It was hot outside and there was a neighbor that had a nice pool. So what's better? Hey, we're hot. Let's go jump over the fence and go swim how to swim, Yes, is that illegal?
Wait, Mo's videos? You're a YouTube featured channel? I can't hype my videos right now. It doesn't let me. I don't understand that too much. It says once a week or something. I don't know. If it lets somebody hype it. Hit the like button for me and hype it. I'll come hype yours.
Sure, is a neighbor really going to get pissed off at a couple of kids? Well, yeah, they're probably going to worry because it's like insurance. If something happened, I get it. But while we're in the pool, one of these dopes I was hanging out with said, well, I'm thirsty. I'm going to go in the house and get a drink.
Now, mind you, he's telling this. He's trying to make Jake. This happened in Virginia Beach, if it did happen. But he wants Stooks to believe there was swimming pools up Federal Hill. Now, there's only one swimming pool up Federal Hill, and it's called Zugalo Gym, Gessler Street Pool. And there was one other house that had a built-in swimming pool. It was just one house up near Ridge Street Park that had a swimming pool. This kid's such a liar.
So now we've gone from like yard jumping to breaking and entering. And this is at 10 years old, okay? And he goes in and being the sucker that I am, I both.
All right, Heidi, after the video, they'll be able to hype it. Maybe. Irate Irishman.
Right behind along with 4 other kids. And he goes into the fridge, he starts drinking soda, and then he throws it across the kitchen. And most kids at 10 would react like, this is not a good idea. Everybody saw us in the backyard, like, but when you're 10, you're innocent, you don't know anything. Then
How is this the start of a criminal career? A bunch of little kids going in a house and drinking sodas and throwing sodas and eggs? How is this the start of a criminal career?
He grabbed a carton of eggs and starts egging the inside of the house. And of course I participated because it's stupid shit kids do. And so anyway, we end up leaving. And this is what's the crazy part about the story is the next Saturday, I think it was like a Wednesday or Thursday, we did this. Apparently the family was out of the state or whatever the case. They left the doors wide open. These are the days when you leave the door open. And
see, these are days up Federal Hill where you leave the door open. Nobody left their door open in fucking the 80s, the late 80s and fucking 90s up Federal Hill, you fucking idiot. The early 90s at Federal Hill, your car would get stolen in a heartbeat. It was like the car theft capital of Providence for a while.
There was a knock at my door. And I don't know who was visiting or whatever. I was in my room and I hear my father go, Jeff, can you come out here, please? And I knew right then I was just.
Yeah, Richie, you said it too. I've never seen a yard up Federal Hill with a swimming pool. No, there was only one, and it was literally on Ridge Street, right on Broadway. There was no swimming pools in the back road in case you had an above ground swimming pool, and not many had them neither. Like 1 or 2 people had them.
In trouble. And I walk out, and there's the guy that owns the house.
What's up,
and my father goes, did you go in so-and-so's house? I said, no. And he looked at me, looked at him. And the guy goes, he's lying. My father goes, how would you know? He goes, I got his fingerprints. And my father goes, what? He goes, I'm the head of the DEA in the city.
Oh, man.
Did you just hear that? Remember, the father is a CIA guy, 10 levels higher than the CIA, black ops. And the detective tells the father, no, the guy says we got his fingerprints. Wow, the father's going to be the most dumb black ops CIA guy in the world, right? And he also gets shaken down for 10 grand. Listen.
We've got 12 witnesses that saw your son go into my house. And so my father said, Jeff, go to your room. And so here's what happened, though. He shook my father down for like $10,000. First of all, throwing eggs at wallpaper does not destroy walls.
No.
But he knew he could get my father. Years later, I would get my revenge on that prick for that.
All right, now listen to this. So he says a local cop shook his father down for 10 grand. Now, remember, the father was a black ops CIA. He knew about 9/11. He'd not taken out dictators and shit. He was a black ops guy. He told us that. So how the fuck does your father get shaken down by a cop? How does that even happen?
For that. But the thing is that my father called me. My father wasn't the type of guy who would ever hit me. He was a yeller and a stern guy. My mother forgot she knocked my lights up. My father said, what the hell were you thinking? And I said, well, I went in, everybody, he goes, no. I don't want to hear about everybody did whatever. Didn't we teach you? It doesn't matter what anybody else does. It's what you do. And not that I was ratting on anybody, but that was just.
Oh, but you did, Fibby. Your lawyer said it.
More of an affirmation to me of, I don't want to hear a thing about anybody else. What did you do? He just wanted to know what I did. So I admitted what I did. And, I was on restriction for a while. And you would think that would be the moment of clarity, but it wasn't because there were a dozen.
Yeah, his dad and his CIA grandpa's mob. Yeah, so even the CIA. So, mobster, secret mafia grandpa couldn't help him. Or CIA dad. So a detective shook him down for 10 grand. Bullshit. His father would have called the cops and that fucking cop would have got arrested. Give me a fucking break. Or if the father was a CIA guy, you would have called his connections in the black ops world. Yeah, he was Agent 47, hitman.
More that should have been that weren't until you get to the point where you commit felonies. Then that's a game changer because now it's no longer you're young and making mistakes. Now you're making decisions. And that's, but there were several instances of the cops coming to I once took a jet ski to go joyriding, but was not strong enough to push it back up the hill.
cool any
jet
room in
ski
90
in
seconds
Federal
with this
Hill,
NASA-engineered affordable device. It's smaller than a toaster.
So guess what that becomes?
Where
Theft.
would,
Yep.
And
where would there be a jet ski up Federal Hill? And where would you take a jet ski in Providence? Would you go in the Providence River with that? Where the fuck is a jet ski up Federal Hill, Fibby?
stupidly, I get home from school. I knew what I did. I said, you got to come help me, my friend, so we can put it back in this guy's yard. Thinking this guy had no clue that it was, he probably heard us riding it at like midnight in the river.
Yeah, he heard him in the river up Providence. What a fucking liar. Captain Midnight, what's up? There's no river up there, Fibby. He's crazy. He wants Stooks to believe all this stuff happened up Federal Hill. Because later on when he tells these stories, it's Virginia Beach. Sometimes it's Federal Hill, sometimes Virginia Beach.
But we went back to the woods to like push it back up the hill. Oh, we run right into him. He goes, oh, what are you guys doing here? Oh, nothing. We're just playing in the woods. He goes, yeah, sure you were. Next thing I know, the cops are doused.
And he calls this a criminal career. This is just regular kid shit. Dumb kids stealing, joyriding a fucking moped or whatever, fucking egging houses. That's not a criminal career. What a weirdo.
I denied it. My mother threw the cop out of the house. She was spit out. My son would never. But I tell you what, the second that those taillights were down the street, she beat the hell out of me. She knew I did it.
Parents know.
Oh, absolutely.
Parents know.
It's funny. It's well known for its jet skis.
A horrible liar. But I'd love to tell you that was the last of my interactions with law enforcement. But it wasn't. It seems to be just the beginning.
And
oh yeah, and it gets better. Fibby's gonna tell us all about his life of crime.
At a certain point, all kids are to some degree stupid. I did stupid things. I've egged houses and did dumb things when I was a kid. But at a certain point, you're right. For me, I got in trouble a few times. Realized, all right, I'm done. I'm out. And I think I've heard your story a little bit, so I know a little bit about this. For you, it escalated. You almost, for all intents and purposes, graduated on to bigger things.
Oh yeah.
And at a certain point, you got pinched for something pretty serious.
Yeah, it sounds ridiculous because people are going to try to look up my record now. But no. I mean, please. It started as grand larceny, breaking and entering, burglary, tools, warehouse robbery / leadership charge. Now, the reason why the state...
Yeah, KD, that's the only thing he told the truth was, KD, is that he's a horrible liar. Make sure you sub to KD's channel.
The leadership charge is because my co-defendants in that case all turned against me.
Wait, he just said he got hit with a leadership charge? They charged him with leadership? If I have time, remind me to play the video from the Fibby channel where his lawyer is telling how his friends told on Jeff and Jeff told on his friends. And that comes from his lawyer.
To give you a little background, there was a guy who owed me a substantial amount of money, north of $5,000. And he wasn't paying me back and was giving me the runaround, and I got a little pissed off. And so I had planned on doing several things to this human being, none of which ever came to fruition because then I would have been in prison the rest of my life. But there was also another friend of mine who had a beef with this guy. And he says, you know what?
All right, so the guy owed him north of $5,000. Fibby wants revenge. Another guy's got beef. Let's see if clippings and whackings happen.
Take care of it. Don't worry about it. So what do you mean don't care? Don't worry about it. I'll take care of everything. And stupidly, I said, all right, sounds good to me. That's the wrong thing to say. And what ended up happening is they broke into this guy's house, broad daylight, stole a car to do it, and stole like a ton of crap from his house. That was just the beginning of it. But what happened was, because this guy knew he owed me money, he naturally immediately blamed me for it. Now, here's the thing. I remember that afternoon quite well. I was in the area. I knew what was going to go down, but you know what? That's not my problem. I'm busy doing other stuff. So right after this guy called me, I said, you know what? I'm out of your side. So I travel 70 miles in the other direction. I'm not stupid. And what ends up happening is...
Wait, 70 miles in the other direction. He wouldn't be in Rhode Island no more. See, this shit didn't happen, but if it did happen, it happened in Virginia Beach. He's trying to make it like this happened up Federal Hill. You drive 70 minutes, you're not in Rhode Island no more, bro. We're the smallest state in the fucking country. We're 30 minutes west to east and 45 minutes north to south. I might be off by a few minutes, but...
So what sort of events unfolded the next day was I get a call from a cop.
Listen.
And they leave a message on my answering machine. We know you drive a black SUV. If you just return the stolen items, we're going to let this go. Well, first of all, I deleted it because I got scared. That's the stupidest thing I ever did because I had a green SUV. And I wasn't even in the area that day. I didn't go in anybody's house. I swear to God. I would tell you if I did it. But I didn't. But this is what happened. Prior to getting that call, I think it was like early in the morning, my buddy who did all this stupid shit, because they got charged with 26 felonies. Okay? Because there was a series of stuff that was...
All right, they were charged with 26 felonies.
He calls me up and he says, hey, what do you got going on today? I said, no, he goes, come on by, I want to talk to you, whatever. Because he was doing credit card fraud and some other shit like that, which at the time I was actively involved in as well.
Yeah, Fibby was actively involved in credit card fraud also. So not only was he a bookie in Providence, credit card fraud, you are fucking crazy. Yeah, the navigator, David, he's crazy. They're going to hit Fibby with a Rico. Who is Rico? Fago's friend.
And he had a problem because UPS wanted the items back because he was stupid and didn't listen to what I told him and started buying like Nintendos and shit. Like, who does this? Like, the long end of it is that he says, hey, I got to run an errand. Do you mind going with me? I said, get a ride from so-and-so and I'll meet you over there. Well, stupidly, the area I go to is under surveillance. So now I'm seen somewhere and he says, hey, I got to sell a bunch of my DVDs. I'm going to go into the military, whatever. Do you mind selling some so we can get out of here? Sure, not a problem. Now they got me on camera selling stolen property. Didn't even know, had no clue. Then they see him give me money for helping him out. So now it's,
They were with surveillance. What the fuck is he talking about? Feds are surveilling them? Or are they doing this in the store?
And we get out there and says, where the hell did you get this car? He goes, I stole it. I said, use some cameras, like, what are you going to do? So I said, oh God, this is just going to get worse. And so that call comes and I wish I would have saved it because if I'd have given that to my attorney, forget about it. They can't do anything because they're already presuming guilt. They got the wrong car. And what ends up happening is, this is some funny stuff. I'm literally, a couple weeks later, there's a lot of stuff. I had an inspection scam going. I was bookmaking. I was doing a lot of different things.
Look, he was bookmaking, inspection scams, bookmaking. You sick liar. You liar. You didn't do that in Virginia Beach or Providence, you lying bastard.
And my father kept warning me. He says, you keep hanging out with these bums, you're going to go to prison. I'm telling you. And I didn't listen because I knew everything. And the FBI had already raided. No, the FBI raided my house after that. Okay, so hold on 1 second. So I'm standing outside of this guy's house one night, my co-defendant, and we're smoking cigarettes and we're talking.
Yes, Texas Joshy. Many of these mob documentaries he lives on. Yeah, bookmaking, Shylock, and YesCom. He was all of it.
And I'm like, we always watched what cars were in the neighborhood, so we knew what was going on.
Listen.
And for some reason, another co-defendant, there was like 4 of us, is getting all itchy and nervous. And I can't figure out whether he's on something or whatever the case may be, but he's very nervous. And he says, oh, I got to go, guys. And he left. And I looked at my buddy and said, he's a fucking rat. He's a fucking rat.
Look at him. He's a rat. He's a rat. Some guy got nervous. He's a rat. Listen to this. Is insane.
Oh, no, he would never, he would, and I'm going to use an alias. Scrappy would never. I say, he's a rat. And he goes, what do you mean?
Oh, his alias is Scrappy. That's the guy's name in his Fibby's little imaginary crew, Scrappy. Let's see what Scrappy does.
Does you hear an engine running? He's like, oh, shit. And he looks down and we see 2 unmarked cars going one way, 2 unmarked cars going the other way. Now we see 2 in the alleyway. I said, we're about to get arrested. And he goes to grab the door. And I'm like, stop grabbing the door. Like, don't look nervous. I said, we're just going to casually enter. We're going to go out the back over the fence and we're gone. We'll beat it. But he's so frantic and scared. His brother knew what was going on and locked us out. And next thing I know, the blue lights are there. All the cops are running everywhere. I'm face down, handcuffed. They're going through all my stuff. This is how slick they were. Pull out my ID. Look at me. Nope, we're not here for you. Looked at him. We're here for you. And they take him down. Okay, they take him down to the precinct. And I'm like,
you done got fucked up, right? Oh my God. Look at Stooks. Stooks is living there hanging on every word I just memorized.
He's like, Jeff, help move the bail. I says, you don't need bail. You'll get out in your room with cognizance. Don't worry about it. So a couple hours later, I'm waiting. He doesn't get out. And it's taken a long time. Next day, call him. He stops picking up the phone. Like, what the hell? A couple days later, keep trying to call. Doesn't pick up the phone. Go by his house. He's not there. I'm like, huh. So probably a month later, his sister's getting married on a naval base, no less. Haven't seen him. Don't know what's going on, but I got my suspicions. And
now listen to this story. Listen to this whopper.
I'm walking down the hall looking to find out where I need to go. And my sister is, getting her gown on and everything. She looks beautiful. She's, come here, I got to talk to you. I said, I can't see you get married. She goes, no, come in here. I said, all
right, so the lady's getting her gown on. Or imagine this. This is a girl getting married. She's getting her gown on and everything. And somehow Fibby's in her room, near her room, and she wants to warn Fibby that her brother's going to rat him out.
Stop. She goes, you need to get the hell out of here immediately. You're going to be arrested within 10 minutes. So what do you mean? She goes, my brother ratted you out. They all ratted you out. You need to get out of here. And I said, shit. So as soon as I get to the side door, here comes the military police, which escorted me in handcuffs right over the line outside of the military base, right into the hands of the cops. So when I get there, the detective tells me, your friends all ratted on you. I said, okay.
That's what they always tell you. And what did Fibby do? Now, here's probably a true part right here because his lawyer, Elio, said it. Go watch the last Fibby Tales on the Fibby channel. The lawyer said Jeff's friends told on him, so he told on them.
He's like, do you want to give any statements? I'm like, not really. Not particularly. Yeah, and she said, all it took was me telling him that you talked, and he rolled immediately. You know how stupid he is? I said, all right, whatever. And she charged me, but they released me on bail and everything like that. And then I knew that I think it was 5 of them, actually. They're all going to testify against me. All of them. So I went and took a photo of this guy, put a rat next to his face, and put flyers all over the neighborhood. He's a rat. He's a scumbag. This, that.
Right, so that's Fibby's revenge. He also gets this from the Gotti trial. They did that to Sammy Gravano. Heather, what's up, Heather? They did this from the, remember in the documentary, they said they put Sammy's face with a rat all over the place. I remember somebody told me about that too. That's where Fibby got this from. So he went around putting pictures up of a guy.
I'm trying to apply pressure. And so when I was talking to my lawyers, he said,
he's trying to apply pressure.
You're looking at 25 years plus. Easy for just everything. Because everything, this friggin' moron ratting me out also starts admitting to other crimes he did. You know what I mean? Like who goes
Yeah, this is around the time he was dressing up like Elvis.
in? It's one thing to go in and roll on somebody, but then you start telling them everything you've ever did. So now I'm going to be associated with 50 other things that really have nothing to do with me.
What?
So what ends up basically
It's one thing to roll on somebody, then this makes no sense.
sort of happening is I'm talking to my lawyer. My lawyer says, listen, here's what we'll do. We'll get a private detective or a private investigator, whatever. You'll wear a wire and you'll go talk to him and get him to tell the truth that you didn't organize this, that yes, you may have been involved, you may have taken money and proceeds, you might have known it was going to happen, but you weren't physically there. And I said, I can't do that.
Although look at Fibby. He wants Fibby to wear a wire, right? Why would they want anyone to wire some kid up for breaking in the house? No, anyways, that's retarded. They wanted Fibby to wear a wire. Fibby says, I can't wear the wire. I can't do that. That's not what your lawyer said, Fibby. You made statements on them all. Fucking weirdo. Yes, a person who speaks like he's a huge liar. Everything's a lie.
Says, what do you mean? I said, I can't rat on nobody. He goes, yeah, but you're looking at 25 years in prison. I don't care.
Yeah,
I can't do that to anybody. That's a no-go.
Yeah,
So
Fibby's going to do 25 years in prison, right? For some little kids breaking in a house. He'd tell on you in a second. Look how he acts like such a fucking pregnant female on here.
as the trial gets closer and closer and closer, my lawyer says, listen, have you thought about a plea? And I said, no, I didn't do it. I'm not going to plea. He goes, well, you probably need to because there's 4 co-defendants. And so the end result of all of that was 20 years in prison, reduced to 10 concurrent, $10,000 fine, 10 years of supervised probation, and just all kinds of stuff. And I got very lucky because the judge in my case, because I'd never been in trouble in my life, took pity on me and thought that would change my life. Now, for the people that like to, that may hear this and may try to insert their own ludicrous opinions, because it's happened to me before, not a single person in that case did a day in jail.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
So and the thing is, they got convicted of 26 felonies. I got 2, and they were
26 felonies, and nobody went to jail.
going to put me in like the worst prison in the state. But the judge felt pity on me. I did 8 or 9 months straight before everything got settled.
He didn't do 8-9 months in jail. He's a fucking liar. He said he did 8-9 months straight. Dude, you are a fucking bullshitter. If you can prove you did 9 months in prison, I'll give you my YouTube channel, Fibby. I'll never talk about you again. I'll give you my channel.
Out and whatever. But they told me, the judge says, if I ever see you in this court again, you're going for 10 years. Ask me how long it took me to get rearrested.
How long did it take you? A year?
A year.
A year.
Almost very.
So he's on probation, supervised probation, all this shit, and he gets arrested a year later and still does no time. He did 9 months. And none of this makes fucking sense. Somebody dropped the Fibby Tales channel in here. I got to play that at the end of this.
Very simple. It was a warehouse job. And somebody ratted me out. They saw me.
Now he's doing a warehouse job. It's a warehouse job now. This is sick.
Right. But this time I did something a little different. This time I had my friend sit on him at gunpoint until my trial was over. Because if he can't testify, I didn't do it.
Look at
and
that.
Nobody's going to hurt the guy. I said, don't hurt him. Just scare him a little.
So he's trying to tell you that at his trial, he had somebody sit on somebody with a gun. Jacob, if you believe that, you're one of the most gullible motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. That is a pure fucking lie. He had somebody sit on somebody with a gun while his trial was going on. That's bullshit. Number one, as soon as the guy took the gun off the guy, he's running to the cops. Number two, they would have all got in trouble. He's a Virginia Beach. No matter, give me a fucking break. He wants him to think this all happened up Federal Hill, though. This is fucking sick.
Held him, and the judge says, the defender, or they called my case up, and I'm like, the judge for my bail hearing, he's like, you just don't learn. I said, yeah, I know, I'm stubborn. And he's like, I almost don't want to let
Look at Fibby getting cocky with the judge because he knows he's got one of his homies sitting on somebody with a gun. Wait, what Dave say? Fucking kids never been to juvenile lockup, never mind jail. Yeah, it's all bullshit, bro. He blew. That's why he had this guy take this video down. That's why this video is only on Rumble. Spike Cult has this on Rumble.
Well, and prior to that, I talked to my lawyer. He says, tell me you're a junkie. I said, what do you mean? I don't do drugs. He's telling me you're a junkie and we're going to put you into rehab. It's the best way to get you out. I said, okay, I'll go for it. So it worked. I had to sit through some weirdo rehab stuff that, I wasn't familiar with, but that's better than sitting in the can, right?
Yep.
And so.
But I thought you did 9 months in jail, Fibby. You just said you did 9 months.
Get to court that day and the state's pulling up their charges and they're looking all cocky and I'm just like, this ain't going nowhere. And they call.
Look at him. Look, the state's calling their charges. They're going to bring the witness up. And Fibby's like, this ain't going nowhere. I have a friend with a gun sitting on the guy. This is sick. Heather, how's Frankie doing? This is sick, right? Could anybody out there believe that Fibby had a guy who's going to tell on him and testify in court, and he's got a friend with a gun sitting on him? Give me a fucking break. Number one, they would have called that guy's house. They would have sent a cop to his house to say, hey, you got to testify, motherfucker. Get up here. Give me a break. This is sick. That's why they took this video down.
For the witness, he doesn't show up. And because that was the main witness, and that's all they had was an eyewitness sort of sighting, like Bigfoot. He says, all right, well, I'm going to dismiss these charges. And he looks over at me and says, you just got the break of a lifetime. He goes, you little shit. I know you did this. Well, I said, all right, have a nice day, Your Honor. And walked out like John Gotti. Like I was John Gotti, didn't get caught. And,
how cringy. I walked out like I was John Gotti. How fucking cringe is that? How cringe, almost as cringy as him telling Angel on the interview that he dressed up as John Gotti for Halloween and his grandfather thought it was a great idea. And his grandfather was supposed to be Raymond Petriarca at the time. Give me a fuck. Raymond would have slapped him upside the head. Would have never had. What a fucking weirdo.
Oh, then it was 2 years later, the FBI kicked in my door. So it started sort of an avalanche of stuff. And
why the FBI kicking your door 2 years later, Jeff? Why? Funny, he's got no fucking record of that. All lies.
Looking back, I wish I wouldn't have used my anger in that sort of way. I think beating him up probably would have been much better than taking something from him. But that was you don't want to pay me, then okay, then people are going to do what they're going to do. And so like I'm saying, I'm not saying I didn't know they were going to do it. I knew what they were going to do. It wasn't my idea because I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go into a place in broad daylight and use a stolen car on top of it. Like I'm not stupid. So, and it's funny because after my father died, I ran into the guy that ratted me out.
Listen to this. After the dad passed away, R.I.P., he runs into the guy who ratted him out. Now, does Jeffrey do clippings and whackings, baseball bats to the knees? Nope. What's what Jeff does? The big mafioso, Fibby Corleone.
We had this very interesting confrontation. We just kind of stared at each other. Can I get a cigarette? I said, can I cut your effing tongue out of your mouth? And he's like, man, listen. He goes, that was like a decade ago. I said, I don't care if it was yesterday. I said, here's your cigarette. I ever see you again in this neighborhood, it's over. You hear me? Yeah, whatever. Okay, right. But then he couldn't.
He gave him a cigarette. The guy who ratted him out, he gave him a cigarette and said, don't come in this neighborhood again. Give me a break.
Stop getting in trouble. Imagine that.
Eventually, you turn your life around. Maybe the tendencies, as you mentioned on your show, are still there, but you've turned your life.
Tendencies. He mentioned the tendies. He means little chicken tenders are still there.
Life around you. You've redirected things, but I have a sneaking suspicion that based on where you grew up and who you grew up with, and I think about the early years of your show. This is where you're.
Wow, just the neighborhood you grew up in and where you grew up, dude. He grew up in Virginia fucking Beach. He's a fucking bullshit artist. None of this shit happened up Federal Hill, dude, or in Providence. This is sick. He went and lived. Tell me this, Jacob. If he came from a mafia family like that, why would he be all fanned out over John Alight? Why would he go live with Johnny Alight, a known stool pigeon? Why would he go and live with him? And how would his mob cousins and all these people, he can't talk about things until they die, how would they have felt if he went and lived with a fucking stool pigeon? Give me a break.
Your stance when it comes to
is he a homosexual? I don't know if the guy's gay or not. I don't think he is. I just think he's just so mentally twisted in his head. But then again, he might be with all the stories and watching his friend masturbate and when his friends are watching porn, all the weird gay jokes and gay stories. So who knows?
Rats, informants came from, and I was thinking about this, and this is one of the things I was thinking about with respect to, do I do interviews? Who do I interview? Do I have a line that I won't cross with, with interviews and with certain people? And I thought, okay, well, if I were Jeff, I understand it, because I don't know what it's like to have been ratted on, but I'm.
Listen to that. If I was Jeff, I would understand why he doesn't like rats. Jeff loves rats, man. What are you talking about? When he first started his channel, he said the most people he would love to interview is Jimmy Calamandria and what's that guy? Dominic Montiglio. He's got all the rats in his chats. Billy Catullo, all these stool pigeons he fucking hangs with. He's down with the Rat Squad, does streams with them all the time. He had 2 fucking snitches on his channel a month ago who sexually abused his emergency contacts children. What the fuck? He has no fucking... The kid's this little stool pigeon himself. His lawyer even said it. Go watch the last Fibby Tales. If I got time, I'll play it at the end. Or I'll cover it this week.
Jake, I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I don't have a position. I don't have any stake in the game. And
that's why there is
That's
no
why you should be covering
Israel.
Babyface Nelson and
If
John
you are
Dillinger.
a Christian and don't know that the
personally, after I thought about it, I was like, well, there's
fucking culture vulture.
many sides to to organized crime, and my goal is to tell them all. But I don't know how I would react if I were ever put in that situation. Whether I would tell on somebody or not, I'd like to think I wouldn't, but you never know. But you've been in that situation.
Yeah, and he went and lived with a rat. And he told on somebody, "Hey, Jacob, Go listen to the Fibby channel where his own lawyer is telling you it contradicts everything Fibby just says right here. It tells you how Fibby told on his friends after his friends told on him.
So I guess do you believe that shows like mine or you have to have a stance? And I think we know your stance. And I guess why do you feel that way outside of just having a head?
See his stance. See, you can call yourself a lion or you can call yourself a fucking giraffe. But if you don't act like a giraffe, people are gonna be like, wait a minute, this don't add up, right? No, he may say he hates rats and all that, but he's on shows with rats. He lived with them, right? He hangs out with them. They're all over his channel all the time.
Happened to you?
I don't think anybody has to have a stance. This is going to sound like an arrogant thing, but if you're not in the mob, not around it, didn't grow up in it, haven't seen friends go to prison, you have no business commenting. Because
wow, Fibby. So he's basically telling Jacob Stukes that he's got no business talking about the mafia. Well, then you shouldn't either, Fibby, with that analysis, because you were never around no mob guys, and you're a sick fucking liar.
Don't understand. Like I get it from certain angles. Guys want to talk about it, or whatever. But if your life has not been, I got 2 close friends that are in federal prison right now, right?
Yeah, he's got 2 close friends who are in federal prison right now. Who? No, you don't. You're a psycho who writes fucking guys in prison. If any mob guy goes to jail, Fibby starts writing them letters.
So I'm affected by it because one of them happens to be my best friend. And I love the guy. Like, you have no idea.
Who?
So my life
Who's your fucking friend in federal prison? If he had a friend in federal prison, he'd be doing streams, talking to him on the phone, all kinds of shit.
It's affected. His girlfriend's life is affected. His children, his mother, everybody's life is affected. And I know what people are going to say, don't do the crime, don't do the time. But at the same time, if the words of another individual who does not want to go to jail counts more than anything else, then I don't know what the hell we have a justice system for, because there are 2 sides to every story. So do you have to have a stance? Absolutely not. I think where people have a tendency of misunderstanding my narrative is it's affected me in ways people will never understand. What I don't like is people who bring
how it affected him. Oh, wait till I play his lawyer.
Non-informants and refuse to acknowledge they know they're lying to them.
Yep.
And listen, I understand. If you're going to have a guest on your show, I mean, how nice would I be to you if you started poking in? You know what I mean? I would be like a jerk and I'd get off. So I understand that perspective. But I think if you're going to be honest, forthcoming, and you want to build a relationship with your audience based on truth, facts, and merit, then you have to ask some tough questions. And it's not that every gangster's, innocent. Never
If you want to have a relationship with your audience, you got to build truth and honesty. Wow.
Not in his life, no. But not every rat tells the truth either. In fact, Jimmy Calandra told fifth person accounts on Anthony Spiro and put him away for the rest of his life. Now,
yes, the guy you wanted to interview and you loved and say hi to him in the chats.
Hand stories to me are not facts. That's gossip. But and I'm not
all rats lie
into the politics of all of that. But and I guess I can phrase it like this: have you ever, in your experience?
Yeah, KD, he's home. Yeah, Shy Hook is home.
Cross an informant who on Monday morning wakes up after decades of murder, mayhem, drugs, and whatever the case may be, and says, you know what? I'm giving my life to God. I'm going to go down and tell the FBI everything I did, but I'm not going to tell anybody else. Oh, no. They always want to come to Jesus after they get arrested.
Once you get caught.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So just once, I would like to hear an informant say, you know what? I was a lowlife. I was scum. I didn't live a good life. And it is what it is. I'm embarrassed of myself.
Why don't you ask them? You're on stream with them all the time.
I never say that. It's always, he made me do it. He did this. Anthony Spiro corrupted kids by getting them to join the mafia. Oh, last time I knew, the mob guys didn't handcuff you to them and say, come on, you're coming with me. It doesn't work like that. And so I think that there's just a narrative of people who love to listen to informants. And listen, they were in the life. We can't say that they weren't. Yep. Some were more active than others. Some are more delusional than others. But they do have a story to tell. And I'm not against them selling their fairy tales. They can tell them all day long. God bless them. But I think you owe it to your audience to say, well, you're saying
they're all
this.
liars. Phil Leonetti, my uncle made me do it. He's a fucking liar. They all lie. All these rats fucking lie and make stories up and bullshit lies.
However, I've got transcripts that show the complete opposite. And in fact, to prove that, we've now got federal cases that are about to get retrials because these informants have stupidly gone onto YouTube and changed what they've perjured themselves.
Yep.
So that's my point. So does Jake have to have a stance? Absolutely not. You're chasing the story. You're chasing the lead. But I think I know you well enough based on listening to your show that you're going to put the story out there. If you haven't.
No, listen, if they want to cover Al Capone and old shit, but when they're calling people made guys and active members of mobs and trying to say there's still a mafia around, because that's what these clowns do on these channels. That they start off with the Al Capone stuff and the stuff from the 30s, the 40s, and then they start to say that any mob guy they see, any guy they see who's Italian is a mob guy. All these fucking channels do it. So does Fibby. How many guys' names does he drop from Philadelphia, those poor bastards?
That's their side of the story too, and it's up to your audience to figure that out. You have no stake in that. And I think that's where other content creators get lost.
Hold on a minute. Johnny says, yeah, he wrote Tommy Patera. He sent him $20 and Tommy wrote him back saying thanks. That's one of the guys he supposedly knows. Yeah, he's a fucking liar. He's a sick fuck, dude. Imagine writing some dude a letter you don't even know that you've seen on like documentaries and shit. That's fucking weird.
Because they say, I hate rats, and they try to do what I do. Then a week later, they get every rat known to man on their show. Then a week after that.
Look at that. Hear what he just said? He is literally describing himself. They hate rats, but then they got him on their show and hang with him. That's what you bring on your show. You had fucking the two snitches, the fake fucking Hell's Angel, the fake Marine, and the Rapo on your show who sexually abused your emergency contact. They're fucking snitches. You've had Billy Catullo in there. You've been on a Pole Smoke show with all the stool pigeons. This kid loves stool pigeons.
I hate all rats again. And it's just, to me, it's always just about finding the truth on both sides.
Yep.
There's three sides to every story. Your side, his side, and the truth. And that's where you have to be, is somewhere in the middle. That's why I always say, let your audience figure it out. There's no stock in no.
How are you going to know the truth? What happens with some criminal organization, dude? All you're going to know is what the FBI and the rats tell you and what you might hear on a wiretap or something. That could be fucking all fungled up with feds.
Incentive for Jake to be like, yeah, you rat, you dirty. There's no incentive for you to do that. Trust me, if I could go back and tell myself.
Why not? I think everybody in America, I don't care what nationality you are, we're all taught as little kids not to be tattletales, right? I don't care what nationality you are or where you're from in America. Nobody likes a tattletale, right? Nobody likes a tattletale.
10 years, give myself advice, it would have been to conduct myself a little differently.
Yeah, I can't imagine myself saying,
how you've conducted yourself lately, Fibbins.
Accusing anybody of being a rat or anything like that. That would be complete.
What's up, Unified Brett? Yeah, there's no hype button right now. Maybe when it's done, there might be. I don't know.
Completely inauthentic for my own personality.
Right, that's not who you are.
No,
and that's not who Jeff is neither. Talking about unauthentic. That's why these two guys took this video down. It's only on Spike Cult's Rumble channel.
No, but one thing, and I think my only apprehension is something you mentioned, that informants have been known to be fast and loose with the truth. So
no kidding.
And not only that, if you do have an informant on, they're not going to like tough questions or being fact checked. So I have been a little bit apprehensive when it came to picking and choosing who am I going to talk to. But am I shutting down the idea of talking to someone who's been an informant? I would say no. I think they're just as much a part of the mob genre and everything that has gone into the mob.
I hate the mob genre. I think these people are a bunch of fucking stalking fanboy fucking weirdos.
As any other side of the story, you just have to be very careful what you believe and what they say.
And I think too, if you have a sort of a preset before you have the interview, say, now listen, these are what the facts as I know from the record. He may say some things that, with all due respect, are not very truthful, but let's see what he has to say. You guys be the judge. And you don't have to surmise an opinion from some guy.
Yeah. Let some stool pigeon come on your channel and throw a bunch of lies out there and let the audience see what's true. Yeah, it's a great idea, Fibby.
Just you don't. And if you do it that way, you'll be successful. You can't do it like me. A lot of these new guys have tried to do it like me, and they can't.
Who try? Well, matter of fact, Spanky Nadu does it better than you. All the Rat Squad does it better than you. Their Mob Hump channels, Jacob Stoop does it better than you. Go look at their views and look at yours, Fibby. Everybody's seen through your lies because it's your own words, contradictions, oxymoronic stories that make no sense. Stories that you tell 10 different times, 10 different ways.
And what nobody seems to understand is it would be so easy for me to just interview every informant there was. I could have had every single one of them. Yeah. In fact, multiple of them constantly have me on, but they don't get it. I got friends that are in organized crime. I come from an organized crime family.
Wow. I got friends in organized crime. I come from an organized crime family. Bullshit.
Have I done
it? You went and lived with a stool pigeon, Johnny A-Light. You lived with them for 2 months. You're trying to tell me somebody who has their dad was ratted on, thrown in the can, grandfather, mobster, like you say you had, would go live with an informant and then sit in their chats? Ever go watch his chat? Look at all the fucking rats that are in there.
Yes, I have done it. And so I'm not going to pretend that I never did, because everybody knows I did. I unfortunately, for legal reasons, can't talk about it. But
he's talking about living with John A-Light.
I learned my lesson, but I had to get a start somewhere, and it was the wrong decision. And believe me.
Wait, he had to get a start somewhere? So Johnny A-Light was his start? What the fuck?
I regretted it almost immediately, but you live and learn.
And the interesting thing is, if a small show like mine.
Why don't Jacob ask him that? Well, if you grew up with your uncles and cousins, what did they think about you living with John Aletto?
Gets approached, and I have been approached before. A show like yours that has been doing it for a decade, I assume you get approached all the time. So they definitely want to tell their story, whether it's true or not. They definitely want to tell their story. And
whether it's true or not, go put up a bunch of liars. to rag on, because they don't look at these people as real people. These are people's real uncles and fathers and grandfathers. Like, would you like if somebody looked up your family, Jacob, and fucking did shows of how your father fucking grew corn and shit and told all the, like, we wouldn't like that, right? You fucking asshole.
You know, you probably get approached quite a lot.
Not anymore. And I
Really?
think the reason, not anymore. And I think the reason why is because they know who I know. They
Yeah.
know who I
They
associate
know
with.
who
and
I
they know,
know. They know who I associate with. He associates with Fago and Pierre.
I'm the one guy. Like, you know, a lot of people say, oh, he's afraid of MRE, and these other, they're not afraid of any of them. They're afraid of me because I go to them.
Oh, he mentioned me. He says all these guys are afraid of MRE. He's like, no, they're afraid of me.
Not with just name calling. I'll bring documents all day long, and they don't want that because that reflects the record. And once they start tripping up on words, you know, I don't know
What do you mean, Doc? Like how you trip out words? How I've been blasting you for 2 years on here, calling out your lies, laughing at you. How I have a lot of your subs watching me. Copyright. I'm waiting for. Why don't you copyright strike this one, Fibby? Do me that favor. Strike this video, because you keep doing that, you're going to lose your channel, you little rat.
spokesman for it. I think that the bottom line for me was there's always two sides to another story. And I have seen people, honest to God, that have not done things that they're accused of doing and gone to jail because of the words of somebody else. To me, that's just reprehensible. But is that case in all mob cases? Of course not. Of course not. That's why I do it, because I think, well, if the government can have their spokespeople, the boys need a spokesperson. And that's kind of where I
Did you hear that? The boys need a spokesperson. So he thinks he's the voice of the mafia. The boys need a spokesperson. And who's that spokesperson? Fibby Loman. Oh, that's so cringy.
Health, unfortunately.
Why would a secret criminal organization need a spokesperson? Think about that for 1 minute.
You're right in the middle.
Yeah, always.
You're right in the middle. Yeah, he's in the middle of Fago and Pierre's Fibby sandwich.
So speaking of being in the middle, you know, and I know we're running long on time, and we're recording actually late at night. You at some point moved to New York, and
yeah, a voice for the boys, Crisco Disco boys.
You know, you have mentioned on your show you go to Philly quite often, and you have.
Here's the Philadelphia love. Oh, the Philadelphia lies. Here they come.
You know, develop
Motown Fibby, you're the one. Put a little East Coast something. Oh my God.
Some pretty major connections with certain people.
100%.
And as a person outside,
See, he's telling Stooks that he's best friends with Merlino. Joey Merlino was never this guy's friend. He went and stalked Joey at his fucking trials. He went there as a criminal investigator. His lawyer even says it.
the life, I guess my question is, well, you know, you're from Providence, and then you move to New York, and you go to Philly. How does that even happen?
Did you hear that? You're from Providence. You move to New York, and then you go to Philly. He's not from Providence. He's not from New York. He may live there now. Shout out Henry Strait. He's not from Philly neither. This is insane. Stooks, you are a fucking dummy.
How does that start? You're now you know, you go to a social club. You're allowed in. You're allowed.
Yeah, Angela. He bragged about helping to dox you. Does shows calling you a pedo. Now he's crying that you're bullying him. Yes. This guy says I raped 2 kids. I'm fucking a rat. A million things. But I'm the bully. No, I beat him up with wits and words. I play his own words and make fun of him. He tries to strike my channel. He's a crybaby. And why isn't none of his, I live up fucking Providence. Why isn't none of his gangster friends ever approached me? Nobody ever approached me and say, hey, that's my cousin, or leave Fibbles alone. Leave Fibby alone. Fibby's telling the truth. Nobody knows you up here, jerk off.
Out in. How does that even, you know, how does that come to pass?
Well, I arrived here with New York and $100 in my pocket. That's it. My life was, after my father died, I had some struggles, some real struggles.
What happened is after his dad passed away, RIP to his dad, his stepmother threw him out of the house because he never wanted to work. He did not want to get a 9-to-5, so he sat on the fucking couch and couch surfed all the time. So after the father died, the stepmom threw him out. Think about this. If I was married to a woman and I loved her and I felt bad, I let her kid move in, he didn't work, God forbid she passed away, yes, I'm throwing him out. He doesn't contribute to the house. He doesn't contribute to nothing, no bills. He's getting thrown out.
And I showed up in New York City with $100 in my pocket. And I'm not going to get into, we'll be here all night, but I'm not going to get into how long it took me to get on my feet, but it took 2 years. And there was a lot of hard times, but I made it. I persevered. Here we are. As far as the building of connections, I mean, being back in New York, listen, my mother used to say it all the time. You could be in Greensburg, Indiana, at some hole-in-the-wall bar, and you'll sit next to the biggest narcotics trafficker in the world. That's just the way my life has always been. I always run into people when I met people.
So he just runs into people, like in that movie where Michael Jackson had to use the kid's bathroom from the Goonies and shit. come on, just think about all the crazy stories Fibby's told us, all the funny stories you heard in these Fibby things. This kid had to live the most interesting life in the world. He said the Hells Angels came from the Netherlands to America to meet him, take pictures with him, and then give him a jacket, but he had to keep the jacket in his fucking closet. Does that make any sense?
Here through other friends. And he just started asking me to come to the club. It's a Bonanno and Gambino club, allegedly. I don't know. But, and, you know.
Look, so people are telling him to come to a Gambino club. Even if that was true, which it's not, why would he ever repeat that? Why would you come on YouTube and say that you hang out at a criminal club? You fucking idiot. So when the cops follow you to that club, they get everybody and say, what? You're a liar and a stupid low IQ miscreant.
I become a member. There's just some, and I know for where in Philly, where I go, the general public.
Where he's at in Philly. Oh, because he tries to tell everybody that the New York and Philadelphia people called up Providence, and they said, yeah, Fibby's with us. Fibby's good. Fibby's a good guy. Know what he does? He finds out if these guys were called mob guys on YouTube or on the news. If you were called a mob guy, Fibby will find out where your restaurant is or your bar, and he will go there. And he will sit there until you say hi to him. And once you say hi to him, you're his best friend in the world. And he's telling everybody you're his best friend.
Cannot go. It's always, unless you want to go to like Phil's, you know, a restaurant or whatever. But how does that all happen? It happens because Joey Merlino was on trial. It happened because.
And he went and stalked Joey. Joey didn't know who the fuck he was. He thought he was a reporter. And he would, every time Joey would go outside and have a cigarette, Jeff would follow him, pick up his cigarette butts, put him in his pocket and save him. He's a truckler. He truckled up to him, walked outside, and know what else Jeff did? He started yelling at the news cameras, and the news cameras called him one of Merlino's entourage, and Jeff was so happy. That was the greatest day of his life. He's a sicko.
Because I had known Joey loosely. I'm not saying I knew him. We hung out. We're best buddies and all that. We knew each other while he was in prison. I had written to him a couple of times or whatever. And I'd met him once before he went to prison. And
wait. So he met him before he went to prison, he's trying to say? He met Joey before he went to prison, and he wrote Joey letters in prison and then stalked his trial? Cuckoo. Stalker.
At his trial, we kind of bumped into each other, and he's like, "Do I know you?" I was like, "Of course you do." And I explained how, but there was somebody else that was a part of.
Wow, listen to that. We bumped into each other at his trial. No, you went to his trial as a fucking investigating sicko. And then you say, "Hey, do I remember you?" And yeah, I told him I remembered him. Dude, Merlino thinks you're a fucking crazy person, wacko. This is all lies.
Part of the entourage in that group that was very frustrated with me. And I've told the story before, and I can kind of tell it here. I'm sitting on one side of the courtroom and the other, and I'm there to support Joey and sort of report.
Now listen to this story. This is the story. Now he's not going to say the balcony. He's told this story 5 times. One time he said that the guy he's going to mention held him over a balcony over the 10th floor. He doesn't say it in this one, but he says the guy threatens him in the courtroom and says, "I'll kill you right here. I've killed 7 people. I'll kill 7 more."
Report on the trial. This guy gets up, comes across, looks at me. I'm like, "Oh God!" Like, of all the people that could come sit next to you, this is the one you don't want coming next to you, right? And he sits down to me, and he basically explains life to me in no uncertain terms. And I'm not going to say verbatim what he said, but
why not? You've said what he's said a million times on other streams. You said that he looked at you and says, "You got to get to know me. You know, I killed 7 people. I'll kill 7 more." And then you said the guy hung you over a railing in the New York courthouse, the 11th fucking floor. Hung you over a railing. Go look at Mob Rat on his page. He made the fucking meme of it.
Could be interpreted that my life could be in jeopardy if I wanted to keep playing games. And he said to me, "You know what? You say a lot of things about me." And I did say some notorious stuff about him. And he says, "Because I'm going to tell you what." He goes, "Get to know me for me. And if you still have that opinion of me, say what you want. But if you continue down this road, it's X, Y, and Z." I said, "All right."
It's X, Y, and Z. In other videos, he said the guy said, "I would kill you. You're going to get killed." So picture, you think some guy is going to threaten some investigative reporter in a fucking federal courtroom? Give me a break.
He left, and I thought I was going to shit myself because this guy terrified me. He has a reputation. 5 minutes later, I look over, and I can tell he's muttering to himself, which is never a good sign. And he comes back.
Yes, because in the courtroom, they want to talk business with you. Exactly. They want to threaten his life in the court. Give me a fucking break, Fibbles.
Over and he starts apologizing profusely. Now I understand why. because he's afraid I'm gonna go say something to somebody because he doesn't know me. And I looked at him, I'm not gonna utter word. It is what it is, and we became very, very.
All right, so he was scared that you were going to run to the FBI, but he just threatened you in a federal courthouse. This makes no sense.
very close. And the guy who ended up becoming like my best friend was also there.
His best friend, the guy who ended up becoming his best friend, was also there. A best friend? You don't even know this fucking guy. You're a sicko. You know, my best friends are people I grew up with from elementary school, middle school, high school. Kids known my whole guys I've known my whole fucking life. Those are my best friends, not people you meet in some fucking courtroom stalking. You're a sick kid. I thought Gorky was your best friend.
And how I met him was through the first guy who, when I was in the city, said, he goes, go over and see X, Y, and Z. I said, yeah, but that's members. Like, just don't worry. If anybody says anything, just tell them you're with me. You know me, you're with me. I said, all right. So I walk in, and the guy who becomes my best friend, said, what the F are you doing here? Why are you here? What business do you have walking in here? And I said, listen, not for nothing. I said, this guy told me to come by. And he goes, yeah. He goes, go take a walk. And I can say who it is. Simon Zone was the guy who told me to go take a walk. Okay.
Joe, look what they do to this poor bastard. This poor bastard right here. This kid's dropped more fake stories about this guy. Dropped his name more times and more lies on this poor bastard right here. I don't know who he is. Some guy from bastard from Philadelphia who they call a mobster or whatever. Poor bastard.
And so I go next door, have a beer, come back. Next thing you know, everything's beautiful. It's like I had, bought them a winning race. It's not a problem. And we ended up just becoming incredibly tight and close. And
so that's his best friend. That's his best friend in the world. How many times did he tell you those people don't trust nobody? They don't trust anybody. How the fuck would they trust some weirdo they met in a courtroom who's an investigative journalist? You think they would let you in? Criminals? Let's just pretend that they're some gangsters, right? Why the fuck would they let this weirdo around them? And here he is dropping this guy's name on a YouTube channel.
It's an interesting sort of relationship and friendship, but it's strictly just guy stuff. Like he says to me all the time, you know what it is about life, Jeff? He says it's dogs and babies. Everybody else can get effed. Dogs and kids he loves, everybody else he's got no room for. But that's kind of how it happened. And then I just became sort of
his best friend. Yeah, you are a loser, dude. I'm sorry. If you just meet some fucking guy, he's your best friend. That's sad, bro. That's sad.
You go to a place and you kind of get sort of pulled into other places and other events to other parties, and that's just kind of how it starts. But
that's how it starts. But we thought you got started in Providence, Jeff. We thought you were Mr. Providence Mafia, bookie, and all this shit. Oh, this is ridiculous.
To round it off, and I'll be quiet about the subject, is that they checked me out. They made calls back to Rhode Island to make sure I wasn't feeding them a line. And it just so happens.
Bullshit. He's trying to say that these Philadelphia guys made calls to Providence, Rhode Island to see if he was okay. This shit is so fucking outlandish and lies. It's ridiculous. Shame on you. You are a sick, sick person, Fibby.
Is that somebody who was allegedly in charge of Providence knew my family and knew me very well. So
you're the guy allegedly in charge of Providence. What a loser. This is sad. My best friend always hangs me over a banister. Joey, you're a fucking funny bastard. That's what he said. He's his best friend. He said he held him over a banister. A fucking banister. 10 stories high in a fucking courthouse. Threatened his life and became his best frind.
And the guy that checked me out was the guy who kind of issued the threat to me or whatever. He is very tight with that guy. So, eventually I find out that they had sort of checked me out or whatever, but that's how it goes.
How do they check you? Check you out with who? You fucking weirdo. You sick. Johnny knows what's up. Johnny's from New England. He knows what's up. This kid's a fucking psycho.
If I was an informant or they would have known, and that would have been over with in a bad way.
The old background check, and it still goes to show that even in this more modern age, the connections and the relationships that
no, Jacob, this is not true. This is not true. He's blowing smoke up your ass.
That made this thing stronger. Still there.
They don't even need to do it. They'll test you too.
Yeah.
They'll test you too. The mafia will test you too. I'm going to show you how they test you.
Yeah, background checks. So Philadelphia people are calling up Providence to do background checks on Jeffrey Loman Canarsi, who had a secret mafia grandpa who we told Angel Gotti was Raymond Petriaca, and now is a secret mafia grandpa because he can't say his name, even though the man has passed away. I don't see the problem with saying his name. Like I said, I dedicated the channel to Rudolph Sciarra and Rocco Argenti. I don't know why they're passed on, God rest their souls. I don't know why you can't mention his fucking name. Do you know why? Because he doesn't exist. Well, he exists, but he was not a mob guy.
Oh, very quickly. Somebody will come in and get fresh with you, who's, made guy or whatever, come in and start a beef with you. They're going to see how you're going to handle
How
yourself.
you're going to be.
But I'm the wrong one to do that, Dill.
All right, so Fibby's telling you they would test him by when he's in the mafia social clubs. They would send made guys in to test Fibby, to get fresh with him and test him. But Fibby says he's the wrong guy to do that to. Let's see how this ends.
I don't care what you are, what your title is. That doesn't fly with me because at the end of the day, we all bleed the same color, right?
Oh, so Fibby says, I don't care what your title is or nothing like that. We all bleed the same. So Fibby's going to these super mafia clubs, and the made guys are coming in. They're trying to test Fibby, but Fibby doesn't give a fuck what your title is, your rank. We all bleed the same, Fibby says.
But I think I proved myself in a couple of different ways. Albeit not going to get into all that, but I think there was maybe an instance where somebody, insulted a girl and I handled it.
Yeah, right. So now somebody insulted a woman and he protected this young maiden's honor. Okay, Lancelot. Sir fucking Lancelot over here. Sure, Sir Lancelot. Okay.
And that's not organized crime stuff. That's just Jeff stuff. But
that's not organized crime stuff. That's just Jeff stuff. Oh my God, Jeff, you and Hootie. Hootie's one of your best buddies. You and Hootie live not in the same, maybe the same apartment building. It could be the same apartment building or the one across the street or to the side of it. But that's why when they went and stalked Joey Merlino at the San Gennaro feast, him and Hootie had the same fucking story. And notice he's never said a bad word about Hootie because he's terrified that Hootie would give him a beating.
They look at that as a redeeming quality to have. That they know I can keep my mouth shut because I don't gossip. And they always test you with that too.
I remember that, Gianni. Remember when Fibby said he don't hang with no fringe assholes? He hangs out with the top, just capos and the administration. Yes, this guy is out of his mind. Yeah, Hootie's a crackhead, but he's scared of Hootie. Even though Hootie's a crackhead and a misfit rat, he will still punch Jeff in the nose, and Jeff's terrified of that. Jeff's one of them kids who's never even been in a pushing match in school.
Too. They always test you. They'll tell you something to see if it gets back. And I just never say nothing. What's the point? You can't defend yourself.
Listen to what he just said right there. They'll test me things. They'll test and say things to me to see if it will ever get back. You are literally on YouTube, dude. You are on social media dropping these guys' names and saying what clubs are mob clubs and shit. What are you talking about? You're doing that right now. What are you talking about? They'll test me with things and see if it will ever get back. Well, all they're going to do is turn on YouTube, Jeff.
Guy says, oh, yeah, you didn't tell so-and-so X, Y. And they always knew when I was there. That's the funny part to me, is I would go there. I would go to one place before I went to the major place, and they would always know I was there because I get a text and say, oh, how come you didn't let me know you was in town? So what do you mean? Because I got a call about 20 minutes ago. They saw you going to XYZ. So I got eyes everywhere. They know everything that's going on at all times. That's the way South Philly.
All right, so in South Philly, he's at everywhere. He's at all the different social clubs in South Philly. What a fucking liar.
Yes.
Even still.
Him and Chris Gorky went and stalked Joey at one bar. One bar. It's not a social club. It's a bar that anybody can go in. They went there and stalked Joey there.
I detect that you're old school, and I think even still they probably
old school. Look at Jeff. He's loving every minute of. He's old school. What?
Probably tend to respect somebody with that sort of belief system, and kind of like them.
Their philosophy is don't talk about it, be about it.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
All right, then why are you on YouTube, motherfucker? Why are you on YouTube dropping all these poor bastards' names and saying you're a member of mob clubs and shit? If this was true, he'd be getting a whole bunch of motherfuckers arrested.
That's right.
So when that particular person came up to you at the Merlino trial, you had launched your show. You were probably
saying that particular person. He dropped the guy's name a million times.
Oh, yeah. A good ways into your show, and I know your show, especially for somebody coming up like you, probably rubbed certain people the wrong way, rubbed that guy the wrong way, and I think you learned very quickly, where your limits are in terms of maybe what you can say or not, what you can, what you can't say. But eventually your show became so successful, and I was always curious, before you eventually moved to your paid platform, which you eventually did, it's now your business,
right?
Jeff's channel, he's tanked his own channel with these lies. If he would have just stuck to what Stooks and these mob humps do and talk about Al Capone and all that shit from the 30s, he would have kept his following. But once he started trying to make himself Mr. Mafia, the Mafia grandson, and all these lies, and I'm best friends with Joey and all this dumb shit, people just started fucking dropping. I believe Joe Bad has said at the time, he said they'll last about 6 months, a Fibby fan. Will be a Fibby fan, Jeff fan for about 6 months, catch him in lies and leave. Or they'll be like, hey, wow, like I said, if you say you're a gorilla, you better act like a gorilla. If you say you're a Doberman, act like a Doberman. He says he came from this family, doesn't like rats, but yet he's all over the rats' ass. He's crying. He's fucking trying to put fake fucking cases on people. He's sick.
Always thinking like, well, I know my podcast is a side hobby. Before this became Jeff's business, what the heck was Jeff, was Jeff doing? Not that I want to get like hugely in your personal life, but I was always curious, what it was like to make that transition over from YouTube, where yeah, sure, you make a little bit of ad revenue, but YouTube kind of has you by the balls in terms of what they'll give you, what things they'll monetize, what they won't monetize, and taking the leap to move over to a paid subscription platform was kind of a leap of faith for you. So I know I would be scared shitless too.
Yeah, that's why he's charging his people $15 a month and giving them all old fucking stupid shows from 2-3 years ago. Lately, he disappeared for 2 weeks. So those people, they bought a month subscription for $15 and they're getting gypped out of 2 shows because Fibby's all emotional that we're crashing his lies and calling out his lies.
To attempt to do that and leave my day job. So I would just ask, what was that like for you?
It was tough because, you always think I'm a very critical thinker. I wouldn't say I've turned into a business guy, but I was petrified because what if I make the jump and nobody, at the time, I think I had like 10,000 subs, 11,000 subs or whatever. And I'd been off YouTube for 2 years at one point. That's a whole nother story. But
subscribers mean shit. People buy subscribers. Who watches you live? How many views do you get? How many likes do you get? How many comments do you get? Oh, wait, you shut your comments off. That's right. The Fibby channel. Shout out to Fibby Tales. They get more views than Jeff. And they're a parody channel of Jeff.
I was actually down in Florida vacationing, and I was saying to my girlfriend at the time, I don't know.
His girlfriend, all these imaginary girlfriends. If you notice, Jeff's always popping up with these imaginary girlfriend stories, always.
Do. She goes, why don't you just ask your little friends? And I knew who she was referring to. So, of course, I'm calling back to Philly and talking to guys. I'm like, just do it. What do you got to lose? Worst case scenario, nobody goes. And you just go back to YouTube. The only thing that's going to hurt is your pride. And so I was like, yeah. So I remember that whole week, like I should be vacationing, having a great time, and I'm just nervous.
Yeah. So all the mob guys are telling you, yeah, go through it, man. Just make a mob talk radio. That's a great idea. Yeah, he lied about Providence all through this thing. He's been lying about Providence. He's a bookie up here. He was a credit card fraud guy in Rhode Island. Give me a break.
Because I know that Monday when I come home, we're launching the website. Well, I said, listen, if I could do 10%, which would be 1,000 people, right? That would be great. Reality is, it's going to be more like 3% because that's just how YouTube is. You're not going to get people to jump over. So I'll never forget within the first hour I launched it and I kind of sat back and I said, and I was like, boom, 100 people. I went, whoa. And at the time I was only doing it for like $2 or something, or $3 or $4,
And now it's $15.
Which I realized I wasn't making anything for like.
What's up, Sulla? That's Sulla Cornelius over there.
First 2 years because Stripe takes out their percentage, taxes, and whatever. But to me, it was like, wow, 100 people are paying to listen to me talk. Like, to me, that was just like, are you crazy? Like, I used to get in trouble in school all the time for talking out of turn. This is great. And then you have to start looking at in terms of, okay, we got our first 100. What does our first 1,000 go? Like, what's 10,000 go? Like, of course, I'm like doing all these huge numbers. I got 50,000 people at 10,000 a month. I'm going to be a millionaire. It doesn't work like that. But I found that taking the plunge worked best for me because now I can do a couple of things I couldn't. First of all, on YouTube, you can't control the nasty crap people say about you. You just can't, right?
No, they're awesome. Right.
Yeah, Jeff can. Jeff shuts off his comment section. No comments for Fibby.
Some nut went to my mother's house and stuck a camera in her face. These are things that have happened to me. Just absurd things for years and trolling and all that. But that's why I turn my comments off on YouTube. It's not because I don't want to engage with people. I just don't want to give anybody who's going to say filthy things the time of day. So I have an email. Shoot them there. And that's what.
What do you mean? Dirty things. They're calling out your lies, Fibby.
They send their anti-Semitic racist rants because that's what I get all the time.
No, he doesn't. Remember he said and he lied and said this guy sent him anti-Semitic stuff. And all the guy did is send him the email and ask them, hey, you got a Jewish last name. Are you Jewish? That's not anti-Semitic. If I had a Polish last name and you asked me if I was Polish, what would be wrong with that? I have an Italian last name. You asked me if I was Italian. I'm like, yeah, right? So you had a Jewish last name, so people thinking you were Jewish. But he turns into anti-Semitic. So you know what the guy did? The guy put out the original emails, and all he asked Fibby was that, hey, I don't get it. How are you Irish and Italian with a Jewish name? Stuff like that. He didn't say nothing bad about Jewish people or anything of the sort.
But I found that, wow, now I'm really controlling.
And he also says that I always make fun of him for being Jewish and talk. Dude, I got Jewish people in my chat, dude. What do I give a fuck what nationality you are? I care that you're a liar.
My destiny on YouTube, you can't really control your destiny a whole lot. It's based on, I hate this word, algorithm.
They can take it away whenever they want, too.
Right, and it's only based on what's trending.
He's got a lot of balls to talk this. He's the king of striking channels. You know how many channels he's took down on YouTube striking their channels down because they make fun of his lies. What's up, Tommy?
Like I could do the screaming stuff better than anybody, but I respect my listeners too much to go down that route. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I join a platform where people can just get a podcast and choose?
Yeah, KD. Yes, he doesn't. He actually had Jacob Stooks take this video down. That's why I'm using Spike Cult on Rumble.
Want to listen to YouTube? It's kind of like, you'll have 18,000. Let's say you have 8,000 subs, 7,000 subs.
Closing in on 7,000.
Okay, so the reality is, probably legitimately, maybe 10% listen to you to every video, probably a lot less than that.
Oh, yeah.
Depending
Most
on
people find me by accident, they say.
Right. And what ends up happening is then you'll get a video that does like 75,000. You'll be like, wow, what the heck did I do? And you look at the keywords, you put in all this. And I just got to the point where I was so tired of trying to figure that out that I said, here's my shit. If you like it, listen to it. If you don't, fuck cool. Just go do whatever.
Look at him, Bafangul, trying to act Italian, dude. You are not Italian. Because listen, I don't put people's last names and shit out there, but I had people look this shit up and hit me up. There's not one Italian last name out of all 4 grandparents. You have 2 grandparents you got a grandparent on your mom's side and your dad's side. There's no Italian last names. I don't know where he gets this Italian shit from.
So that's why moving to the podcast, I can control a couple of things. I can control my workflow, my day, and I can talk about whatever I wanted to. And I don't have the voices on the outside telling me you're worthless, you're this. I just do my thing. And listen, what I love
You're worthless. Who cares? You know how many fucking comments I get all the time? Who cares? Cares what they say. You put yourself out there, people are going to criticize. Grow the fuck up.
Have 50,000 paid subscribers? Absolutely, because I know the perfect co-host I'd want now. You. Seriously. But the reality is that I'm still underpaid for what I do.
He's underpaid for what he does. He's still underpaid. Look at the self-aggrandizement this guy has of himself. Oh my God.
I look at all the research I do and I wrote it down and it's like, it's not a ton of money. There is money to be made in this genre, but you're not going to get wealthy in this genre.
I think there's a cap.
There's a cap. There is. And I think unless you have a unique personality, that'll get you over too. But at what cost? To be something you're not, like, it's not, me. Listen, I'm the type of guy, if I'll say it.
Truck over here. You hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I think he's trying to strike me, little Fibbins. Press 1 if you can hear me.
But I'm going to try something a little different this fall.
All right, I think I see it working now. All right, you hear me.
And I think that's going to be a game changer. I think that'll really be a game changer because not only will I have a podcast, now I'm going to have a TV show on top of it. And I think that's kind of...
Wait, did he say he has a TV show coming? What happened to all the mob tours he was going to do? Remember? All the mafia tours. Remember that cringy? Thanks, guys. Yeah, I could see it. Remember that cringy thing where he's sitting in New York and he turns to the side. He goes, you want to know about the mafia? I'm going to tell you about the mafia. This kid's fucking sick.
I need to head. The plan was not Mob Talk Radio. 10 years ago, it was. Believe it or not, how it all happened is I was talking about hockey because I have a hockey background.
Now, this is the only true part. He didn't start this. That's why he started telling lies, because he figured, I'll tell a few lies and I'll go do my Pittsburgh Penguin stuff.
Or whatever. Yep. And a buddy of mine just wanted to do a mob thing. I was like, I can't do that because that's going to upset the apple cart, my family, whatever. Just try it. So I did it.
And that's going to upset the apple cart in my family. Dude, you are a fucking liar. You know how it did upset your family, though? That part might be a little true. Here's why. Because your family are not mobbed up. And when they fucking heard about that, they were fucking ape shit pissed at you. And that's why none of your family talked to you. That's why it's Thanksgiving alone, Christmas alone, Thanksgiving alone, Easter alone, a lot of alones.
Put the video out and got like 10,000 views in a month. What the hell? So that's why I started doing it. But it was only meant to open doors to make films.
Yep.
And I've made enough money now where I could, purchase my $25,000 camera. And now I can really do what I set out to do. Does that mean Mob Talk Radio is over? No, I'm just going to evolve into something a little bigger. That's all.
Yeah, and I think I've heard you mention on your show. Well, one, historically, I know you were involved, with some TV productions like the Flanagans.
And how did that work out? The Flanagans. Fibby got a crush on some girl on set and started saying, they're stealing my creative ability. He wanted to be the top, he wanted to be the head leading man. And let's just be honest, Fibbles is not the most handsomest fella. So why would they make him the leading man? So he got mad. They were trying to steal his creative ability, and he got a crush on this girl, and he went nuts and deleted everything.
And some things that maybe like didn't get all the way there, all the way to the finish line, but were probably going to be incredible nonetheless. And I think with with the direction you seem like you're going, you have a little bit more control. I'm sure people approach you all the time, but I think you had mentioned that you were going to take your camera and begin going to some very historical sites related to historical mob events. Which for people like me, I know I know I'm not a normal person. Like when I talk to my family about this stuff, they're like they'll listen to me for about 5 seconds before they turn their attention.
Yeah, they think you're a wacko, Jacob. And Fibby was going to do that, walk around and like touch the fucking social clubs in New York and rub them like Jimmy Calandra was doing. Remember when Jimmy went to Roy DeMeo's social club and he was rubbing the door going, ha, ha, ha. It was fucking weird.
Something else, but for this small niche audience, that's going to be right up.
The first one's going to be Joe Barber's house, Appalachian. Yeah. That's the first one.
Fibby wants to go to some guy Joe Barber's house or something. 1957. Oh, the Appalachian meet in Appalachia. Okay, some like big mob conference or something like that. So Fibby wants to go to that house and do what? Pee in the bushes? Like, this makes no sense.
To what? Walk around? This is where Carlo Gambino sat. Over here, this is where Vito Genovese sat.
What the fuck?
We're going to do, and we've got a lot of stuff we want to do, and we definitely want to bring other mob content creators involved, because I think sometimes when you have a panel discussion, it's better. First of all, nobody wants to hear me rattle off rat every 10 seconds, right?
But no one wants to hear me rat. You love fucking rats, dude. You love them. They're on your channel. I can show you a video from 2 months ago with 2 fucking stool pigeons on that channel who actually sexually abused your best friend, your emergency contact. Fucking his chat's filled with Billy Catullos. I think the only Rat Squad member who doesn't like him is like Fortalino, makes fun of him a lot. But Howie and the rest of the Rat Squad love this guy. Pole Smoke, he's down with all the Rat Squad.
But the problem that I'm finding, and I don't include you in this because you're not the Jerry Springer guy, like some of these other people, is that they're not passionate about, they say they're passionate about the genre, but they're passionate about money. And if money is your ulterior motive to the point where you're willing to like go on other people's show who are trashing people, like you really have lost sight of what's important.
Fibby, like the hypocrisy here is just outlandish.
So I'm always looking for mob content creators that just.
Remember, he gave me an award. This loser gave me an award my first year on here. And I don't do mob content. I think it's stupid and gay. It's just not for me, right? I'm not interested in that shit. Not knocking anybody who does like that stuff, right? As long as you're not a weirdo like these guys. He gave me an award for the best new channel because all I would do is make fun of rats. I don't talk about mob shit, none of that shit. I don't know that shit anyway, so why even fucking talk about it? Stupid. It's a rat move anyways. Fibby's out of his mind.
I don't want to say play it down the middle because that's not what I mean. Just people that are just honest. Like, don't be afraid of your opinion. Your opinion's very, very important.
You remember that, Johnny, Tommy. You all guys remember when he gave me that award. He's like, MRE, you are the funniest person in the world. Like, I just wish I had your talent. And I don't have a talent. Any asshole can come up here and take apart lies from some miscreant, misfit, transient, right? Like, he was like, you are so talented. You are so talented. And I'm just sitting there like, cringe. I feel cringy. This is Cringe City.
Guys like Scott Bernstein, I know I give a hard time to, but I still think the guy is smart. I still think he's a knowledge.
Scott Bernstein is another fucking wacko liar, but I will give him this. He doesn't do what Fibby does and says his family's mobsters, and he doesn't dox people and make up lies about people and say they're fucking informants. So I will give the weirdo that, but Bernstein is another crazy guy who gets hit up by fucking humps out there that tell them they're in the mafia and give them secret scoops and shit like that.
Eligible mob guy. We just have some differences, and that's because I have friends. That's what that's really all about. But if you
look, I have friends because I have friends, dude. You don't have a friend in the world, bro. What did you say you were going to do at the San Gennaro feast? You were going to go there 6 deep and beat up Little Snuff. How many times have we seen Fibby videos? You can go watch them on my channel. In his own words, saying he was going to have Little Snuff, whackings and clippings. He was going to have Joey hurt, Little Snuff hurt. This kid's a fucking, he is so jealous of Little Snuff, it's not funny.
In the same room together, we get along fine. I wouldn't get along with George Anastasia or Dave Ratweiser, excuse me. I'm not going to get along with that.
He's got an unfortunate last name.
Yeah, Gummer too. He's another one who lied. Shout out to Mob Tube Chronicles. That guy busted him good.
for the genre.
He really likes me. But,
know.
you know, it just, I defend my friends, and it's always going to.
I defend my friends. Dude, this guy's such a weirdo. After Joey Merlino told him to get lost because he was a stalker weirdo, he went on and talked shit about his wife, trying to call Joey's wife a rat, talk so much shit. He is such a coward. He didn't even go to the San Gennaro feast that's right around the corner from his house. Right? He didn't even go to, then he told us he was friends with Fat Joe. Remember that? He's friends with Fat Joe. So when he heard about Skinny and Fat Joe hanging out this week, he probably cried in his pillow.
You know, no, I mean,
Principle ahead of everything else.
down the line, I'd love to get really good mob content creators. Even that guy RJ. I mean, he seems like a really intelligent guy.
Oh my God, RJ! I will say this about RJ: he is a mob hump and is in love with Mikey Scares and all that shit. But he's not a doxer scumbag like the rest of the Rat Squad. So I'll give him that.
You know, I got to be honest with you. I told somebody today.
And RJ and their channel blows his away too. All these mob hump channels blow Fibby's away. Fibby's channel is literally the fucking Amos house. That's like a homeless shelter of those little stupid mob John. What's up, Steve K? What's up, bro? Steve K 75. What's up? At least Bernstein legit had a grandpa who was a Jewish mobster. Oh, I didn't know that, Grape. All right, so at least he did. Fibby's is a lie. Fibby didn't have no maybe he did have some Jewish mobster grandpa. Well, no, Fibby didn't, because he really would have dropped his name. But at least Bernstein did have one.
I said, this kid's going to be ahead of like half of these guys in half a year if he just keeps going. And I shouldn't call you a kid. You're not a kid, but you know what I mean.
41-year-old kid.
Well, all right. So I'm 5 years older. So I was almost out of diapers when you were just starting yours. So
yeah. It's interesting. Someday if I ever lose my job, I know what I'm gonna, at least for a little while, fall back on, because sometimes I go a month, 2 months between episodes, but it's because I'm busy with living the life of.
Well, I'm glad you work, Jacob, and you have a job. That's good. But teaming up and co-signing this freak and taking the fucking video down is disgusting. I don't really check your channel out, so I hope you're not one of these morons who are calling current people mobsters and shit, which you probably are.
Having 3 kids, 10 and under, which is a lot to handle in a full-time job, which I've never talked about.
Good. God bless you and your kids. Don't let them listen to this guy. That's bad parenting, okay?
About on here, so it is a lot, and trying to to be there for them and be a good dad, be a good husband, be all of that. But when I get free time, this is what I do, and because I'm a little bit anal.
Free time, he's just infatuated with Italian crime. Fucking weirdo.
When it comes to the amount of depth that I feel like I need to go into to do it right, that means, quite honestly.
Yeah, Joey. Fibby's Mob Talk Radio is the anus of YouTube. It really is the anus of YouTube. It really is. He fell so far because of the lies. That's what killed him. Because if he would have just stayed on, hey, what color Al Capone socks were, Lucky Luciano liked eating ham sandwiches, his show would have done good. But as soon as he started being Mr. Philadelphia mobster, Providence mobster, New York mobster, everybody laughed at him and fucking left.
40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours to research on a scene. You can even go further than that if you really want to. The documentation is out there. So for the people that just parrot things that, to some degree, I'm like, okay, fine.
That's what Fibby does. He parrots things he finds off Wikipedia and these mob documentaries. He's a sicko.
Do a show, let them live their lives. But I know that all it takes is a little bit of money, and you can get a subscription to newspapers.com, a little bit of money, and you can get a subscription to this amazing treasure trove called maryfarrell.org, which there's all kinds of FBI reports going all the way back.
Oh my God. And you believe those FBI reports? The FBI are a bunch of fucking liars, dude. They had their own gang in Boston, the Whitey Bulger. What was that guy, Connolly or whatever? They had their own gang. They fucking put guys in jail, lied on people. Ever hear of that guy, Tedado, and all these fucking shit bum FBI agents who fucking lie? Fucking assholes. Ever hear what they did to Stephen Creer and Matty Madonna? How they fucking put those guys away on some bunch of bullshitters lying on them? You can't even say they ratted on them. They just straight lied on them.
Back 50, 60 years there, you can do a Freedom of Information Act request. I don't do the 302s because I don't have the money, just to pay for the, the Pacer account. So maybe that's where my limitations are. But
why don't you go get some Freedom of Information Act on all the Rhode Island mobsters, right? And see if you see Fibby with any of them. See if you see Fibby in any of those videos. You won't, okay? You won't.
Of course, you could go read a book, things like that, and try to piece it all together. but that takes a considerable amount of time. So for me, it takes a month, 2 months, sometimes between episodes. So like my production quantity doesn't necessarily match what
Well, Jacob, if you're saying that you study shit, you should have done your background studies on Jeff and what a fucking liar he is.
I feel like from a quality standpoint, I do my own editing as well. So like that's, doubles my time.
Right there with you.
Yeah. So it's a lot of work, but it's a passion project. I don't make it really any money. I just got, I would say to the point in the last year where I've been able to do the monetization on, the Spotify and YouTube. But it's like, hey, my wife says, how much money did you make? $400. Oh, that's not very much. Oh, okay. Well, maybe if I did it more, you never know.
Well,
but,
I just lost mine. So I just, they took mine away because they said the content was violent.
Well, it's the your content's violent. Everybody's content is
well, and that's
violent,
that's sort of my issue with it. Is sort of nitpick who they mess with and who they don't. But I think I used to laugh when people say, "Oh, you just sit there and talk. You don't do any research." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like for me to do
That's why there
all
is
he
no
does is read up
diabetes in Israel.
fucking. That's
If
how he
you are a
knows all
Christian
this shit.
and don't know that the
show on Friday,
That's how he knows.
Sometimes
That's how he knew all that stuff about Providence and Raymond from watching documentaries, the news, all that shit. He said earlier, everybody. He actually said that he went in Raymond Petriarca's basement and picked out swag. You fucking crazy.
be off Friday. I'll take off Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Then Tuesday through Thursday till 4 o'clock in the morning. That's what I'm doing. It's a lot of work, and I think like donations are great. But it's like I'm not somebody who's gonna like say, "Oh, my work's so good, please give." It's not in me to do it.
Yeah, he's been e-begging. Fibby's been e-begging lately. A lot's changed since 2019 when this was done. Mandy, what's up? Let me tell you this. A whole lot's changed since 2019. The hot suit store.com. Oh, that was too funny. A hot suit down at Wells. Nobody fucking talks like that. What a fucking idiot. When you plead guilty, you go in front of a judge. They always talk about your background. Would they not bring up the fact that he was related to? Yeah, that's a great point, Liam. Wouldn't they bring up the fact that he was related to all these mobsters and shit? Not a shot, because he wasn't.
Either. Yeah.
I can't.
What about cousin Georgie with one arm who threw a grenade? And the grenade only blew off his arm. No shrapnel hit his lungs, his head, his neck. Nothing, just the arm.
Yeah, and I will
fake cousin Georgie, who 4 years ago his name was Melvin.
Say when it comes to digging through the FBI reports, it's not like they just lay it out. It's a little snippet here, a little snippet over there, a little snippet over there, and it's hard to make sense.
And they're all fucking bullshit stories.
Sense of what they're actually saying, and then to put the pieces all together, it takes a lot of work to get it right.
And a lot of lies.
Well, I'll give you the clue that's going to make it a lot easier for you. Anytime FBI field reports, because that's what you're reading, right? Anytime they start to cross-reference with other informants, it's usually 90% accurate. But if you have a situation where on page...
Oh, so when they cross-references with other informants, it's accurate. So when two rats lie, it's the truth. When one rat lies, it's a lie.
2, it's talking about a certain event, but then you don't see that event mentioned again. Odds are it isn't fallible.
Yeah, true, Jason. Someone dropped that to me when he first started telling the story. Georgie's name was Melvin back in like 2017.
It isn't accurate. Like with the Greg Scarpa in Mississippi thing. Like, I'm not going to get started on that, but there's no truth.
Yes, Georgie, Melvin, same thing, only different.
That just zero, just a lot of perjury from a girlfriend and a lot of innuendo. And my thing is, and like I've always said this, and if people are mistaking me for some sort of mob Nazi, I'm really not. What it comes down to is
a mob Nazi. What is he doing? What do you think? You're fucking is the mob Nazi? What is he even talking about?
Entitled to your opinion. We can agree to disagree all day long. But the minute you change history because you're too lazy to look something up, that's when I have a problem. Because
change history. Number one, anybody doing history on a secret organization. You're gonna get all you're gonna get is from informants and fucking FBI liars. And none of these guys are gonna. It's a secret organization. They're not gonna tell you their history, you fucking idiot. So you're gonna get a bunch of fucking rats telling you shit and lying and making people they put in jail out to be bad and them out to be good.
Inundated with 1,000 emails. This person said that, and I can't believe it. Well, and here's what I always have to say to people, and this is very important, is that, listen, you're going to get something from Jake's show you love. You're going to get something from my show you like or hate. So you're going to get it from a collective of different sources and outlets. But what matters most at the end of the day is that you're not being lied to. Facts, to me, is the biggest thing. I'm not about to tell you that Napoleon was a swinger and owned brothels, when in reality, that's not who Napoleon was. But that's the easy, lazy approach. And I think anything you care about, and obviously you do, because I watched your show.
This thing has been 99.9% lies.
There's a part of me that envies what you're able to do. Because I always try to look at, I don't listen to mob shows technically, really very often.
Listen to this. I don't listen to mob shows technically. Motherfucker, you do your shit.
The reason why I do is because I want to see what if maybe there was a different approach I could take, but I realized I just got to be.
Yes, he said that his family started St. Jude's Hospital too. This kid's got more fucking stories. His father's a black ops CIA guy who was shaken down by a Providence detective. How does a CIA guy get shaken down by a fucking detective? That detective would have been arrested and kicked off the force. Like, give me a break.
I can't be anybody else, but if I could go back and have your approach, I think I would have been better served. But then again, at the same time, I might have had a bigger base, but at the same time, I wouldn't have been as entertaining either.
Well,
no, nobody's ever accused me of
look
being.
at him. I wouldn't have been so entertaining. The only thing entertaining about you is your looks, Carney boy. He's a Carney kid. He reminds me of a Carney kid at like a carnival in fucking Coney Island in 1921. You know, here is the bearded lady. Here is the fibbing baby. Like little fibbles. Give me a break.
Funny, and I find you quite honestly hilarious sometimes, and some of the stuff.
Do you also find Amy Schumer funny? Do you also find Amy Schumer funny?
You come up with just off the cuff, especially when you're going in on somebody, some of the things you say, and I'm like, where did that come into his brain? But it's hilarious, definitely.
Look at Mr. Rogers. Look at Mr. Rogers. He thinks this mongoloid's funny. Hey, funny. He's clapping like a fucking seal at the zoo. Jeff funny. Amy Schumer funny. Wow. Jacob, you must be really low IQ because only Jeff does is toilet humor, fart jokes, and shit like that. Jeff's fucking, and he reads chat GTPA or whatever the fuck, Grand Theft Chat, whatever you want to call it.
My kids, like I said at the top of the episode, hopefully they don't understand some of that stuff. I don't listen to it in front of them anymore. I've learned my lesson.
Well, please apologize to your wife. I did not mean to taint your children.
I certainly will. Wow. Jeff, any last remarks before we jump off for the evening? I feel like I've kept you for quite a long time.
No, I would just encourage people to take in all kinds of different shows. You know, if you like mine, great. If you hate mine, fine. If you like Jake's, fine. If you hate his, fine. But look at the collection of what's out there and
look at the collection of what's out there. Make sure everything out there that if you love it, love it.
Notice the difference. And I really am trying to really speak about you here because people, I think, are more familiar with me and sort of my antics.
Of course.
The amount of time
is antics. So we got time for a fibby thing. Let me do the fibby thing because this is over. Let me go to the fibby. Shout out to Spike Cult. Hold on, I want to go to the last Fibby Tales to show you what a gangster Jeff is. It wasn't Fibby Tales. It was this Mob 2 Ball Stars. Hold on, we're going to play this. But I only want to play just one part where he talks about Fibby and the Talon and Jeff's criminal.
Listen, everybody. Can you just be respectful, please? Just be a little respectful.
Why is she saying that? Because the chat is blazing Fibby. He looks like he wants to cry.
Well, who's being disrespectful? What they do?
No, I'm just saying. Well, my guess.
Gerard, what's up, bro? How you feeling, brother? I've been keeping you in my prayers, man. Shout out to Gerard, and your great father. Shout out to the Stoics. Make sure you give Gerard a sub. He's a good man right there.
Up on the panel, just please be respectful. That's all I ask. Go ahead.
They can call me whatever they want. But anyway, anybody who does that behind a fake name is nothing but a coward anyway. But
amen to that.
So anyway, I haven't been watching these podcasts as much. I still watch your show, Angel. I listen to Jeff's show, and then I seen like it got very chaotic with people instead of telling true history or doing entertainment, they just all started attacking each other. And there's all types of like people just trying to hurt each other with words and with sometimes defamation and all that. And I just see a lot of negativity. And I saw today that someone put up something about Jeff, and I think it's something that an average person can, and it leaves open for people to draw their own conclusions and even add lies into it. So I'm an attorney, as some people may know. I was actually Jeff's lawyer on multiple cases. I represented his podcast. I also I was his partner in a.
Oh, you're welcome, John.
I also help him with all those outstanding documentaries that he legally. I give him legal advice. He has all these like multiple. Really mind-blowing, amazing projects that are coming up.
That never came out. Jeff's projects that never come out.
Filming in Philadelphia and in New York and in New England. So we've got a lot of really good stuff going on.
Look at that head.
And I'm not coming here as a lawyer. I'm just coming on as his friend. But as a lawyer, I can give an opinion of the document that was put up. There was a document that was put up that was saying that, and people are saying on YouTube that he's like some type of government informant.
No, Jeff's not a government informant, nothing like that. Cuban B, what's up, bro? 2506. He's not a government informant or nothing like that, but he is a tattletale, and Elio will tell it. This is his lawyer. I actually like Elio. He's a good dad. I won't hate on him.
First off, he's a podcaster. He's an artist. He's a producer. He's a filmmaker. He's an author. In order to be a government informant, you have to be a criminal first. So I don't even know why people.
But Jeff's saying he is a criminal. Jeff's saying he's a bookie, a credit card fraud.
That out there. He doesn't commit crimes. So how is he an informant? That's one.
Oh, he said he committed a lot of crimes.
Two, I saw that there was papers put up when he was like 18, 19 years old.
Listen to this. 18, 19 years old. Listen to this.
Where it appears that a kid from his neighborhood got him arrested. And then when the cops were taking him into the police station, he said, I didn't do it. The kid who said I did it, did it. And all of a sudden that's getting twisted by.
Yeah, he ratted on his friend. He's a stool pigeon. Yes, the kid told on him, and then he told on the kid. Thank you, WC. Clippings. Make sure everybody go check out WC's channel. Give her a sub. She's a good friend. She helped me with the strikes that Fibby was striking my channel with. I want to thank you for that, Watcher. It's a good buddy of mine. Check her out. But notice what he just said right there.
Got him arrested. And then when the cops were taking him into the police station, he said, I didn't do it. The kid who said I did it, did it. And all of a sudden that's getting twisted by.
Yeah, that's a snitch. That's a snitch, right? And it can't. And he just said it. Jeff's friends told on Jeff, and Jeff told on his friends. So Fibby, he's not a felon. The lawyer's saying, where's the 3 felonies and holding people at gunpoint and all these felonies? Where is that? And look, Jeff's silent. When the lawyer just said Jeff's friends told on him, and Jeff said, no, I didn't do it. They did it. That's a fucking snitch. I don't know where you people come from. Where I come from, that's a snitch. Just somebody tells on you doesn't mean you should tell on them. That's a rat move.
On the internet, like former informants that actually have been involved in organized crime cases, they say that Jeff's an informant. Jeff is not from Ridgewood. Jeff never committed any serious crimes. Jeff never put anybody in jail.
Look, Jeff never committed no serious crimes. No serious crimes. It's not what Jeff tells the Jacob Stooks.
Jeff is not a federal informant. I don't know why federal informants would want to say that guy's.
No, he's not a federal informant. No, he's not. Definitely not. But he is a snitch and a liar and a baby.
I mean, when he's not even never in crime. He's an artist. He's a podcaster.
He's never committed no crime. Podcaster.
Jockey. So it's absurd. It's not accurate, and it's actually silly.
Actually, no, it's not, Elio, because he tells everybody he's a gangster and all that. But he's not a federal informant. No, he just snitched on his pals when they snitched on him, right? No, he's just he's got the FBI and speed dial, yes, but he's not a working informant. He doesn't know nobody. Why would the government make him an informant? He doesn't know nobody. He doesn't know anybody to get in trouble.
My take on it. If Jeff wants to explain that document, feel free. I just saw that there was somebody who actually someone I knew as a kid many years ago, who I actually liked. I knew him as a kid, so I don't want to say anything bad. He became a government informant years later. And
I wanted to play that part only because that's the only interesting part on there when the guy said Jeff's not a criminal, he's not a felon, and Jeff only told on the kids who told on him. He only ratted on the kids that ratted on him. I want to thank everybody for watching. Come back in a little bit and hit the hype button for me if they let you do it. Come back, leave some messages, leave comments, hit the like button. I appreciate everybody coming here and watching. God bless you all. And there's some of you that keep in my prayers. Anybody needs some prayers said, leave me some comments. But I just wanted to play that part. May Queen later, RTC later. Make sure you sub to Rat Trap City's channel. And make sure you go to Spike Cult. His link is in the description on Rumble. Support him. I will be streaming more of Spike Cult after this. And I will be putting the Fibby Tales in here also. So make sure you guys all come back, leave some comments and stuff. I want to thank everybody for watching. God bless you all, and good night. And Jeff, you are full of shit. Anybody sees this, try it. Jeff's telling the truth and I'm lying, right? God bless you all.